Alright, everyone, I want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for more Dungeons and Dragons online at gaming. And tonight, we're playing the Expanse on the precipice of, well, the greatest conflict any of us have ever seen. But this is not my story to run, just to be a part of. That is Mr. Brendan's job and objective. Mr. Brendan, what do you have for us tonight?
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. We're playing ourselves to Expanse, and from what you're looking at now, you may be asking, what the hell am I looking at? So, with a little bit of rundown, we got a more full recap last time around, but our party has finally come to the point where conflict can no longer be avoided. They've run off on their missions all over the place, trying to gain power and influence, magical items, and just more experience so they can combat the evils that lurk ahead. Karseth, a dragon of immense power, seeking to steal away, well, the divinity of the dead god Bane. And apparently, seems like he's there, or at least very close. The parties regathered back in some of their old home, Heartclaim, a sort of second home to some, as it seems like a battle was to commence, not but less than a month away. Enemies had landed on the shores of the south, Karseth's forces, 10,000 strong of monstrous races, kobolds and orcs, lizard men, and, of course, dragons themselves to lead them. As they marched north, our party marched south to meet them. And in the middle of the Expanse, in that gigantic open plains, a battlefield was set up. The party arrived earlier as they echoed, and then defenses were put into place. Yolder worked to lay out traps of magical design. Fortifications were erected by Cinder and Toman through powerful magics as well. Barricades were built by Lannister's hand, and the line was created. As the forces of our allies started to approach, the enemies could be seen on the horizon, and they were not even given a day's rest after the march. By the end of the day, the enemy forces were upon them. Kobolds, orcs, drakes of gigantic sizes, some the size of huge wolves, the others size of elephants. There were also wyverns filling the sky, close to 500 or so that swirl in formation above what looked like a plethora of dragons, all ferocious, but 5 standing out amongst their packs. Of different colored wings, they seem to fill the top of a small ridge, looking down upon their troops as the day started to wane. The sun started to slowly dip in the sky, and as the enemy forces marched forwards, our heroes see them stop. Lines formed quite a ways away. As minutes go by, you all can see your troops around you. Where are you stationed at this moment? The airship sort of centrally localized in all of these formations, but where are each one of you hanging out? And also, who wants to run Lannister? As yes, John will not be here tonight. He had, not really a family emergency, but just family obligations he couldn't get away.
I'll run Lannister.
Good.
Yeah, they've both been running each other when they miss, so that makes sense.
There you are.
Alright, excuse me, God of War coming through.
Lannister and Ivar just charge to the front.
I'm like just just kind of imagining the broadside of the airship. You have like gun, Asham Ka, gun, me, other gun, just peering out over the entire thing as I'm just trying to take it all in and just trying to keep myself from being overwhelmed.
Yeah, and if you did not see last time, Yolder showing her new form upon the battlefield.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the token's a little small. There you go.
Phew!
Yolder, in her downtime, has worked to reform herself in the visage of her god, stripping away her old body and forming one anew, through the gift of Hephaestus, the forged soul, and her own craftsman's hand. Cinder, where are you hanging out? Might be muted.
I was muted. I would be near the allies that I care most about, you know, our group as much as I can, but up in the air, trying to keep an eye on any kind of approaching flying things that I might be the only one that can cover, like above the airship and things like that.
Okay. You say your allies, you talking about Yolder, Ashim Khan, the airship, or are you talking about Heart Claims Home?
Yolder and company.
Alright, so you're up in the air above where Toman is stationed, as you, Toman, and Desmond, along with the airship and Yolder, are sort of taking a central position in all of this formation, while Ivar and Lannister take up the...
Well, that's Toman too. Toman 1 is over here.
The main Toman, the real Toman, is actually out in front of what looks like some of the Iron Wall Republic, also behind some of Yolder's fortifications, some magical traps. Good shit. And as the day goes long, as the light starts to fade, you can all look around and you can see the troops around you. There's a tinge of just nervousness in the air.
Seeing the
What's up?
seeing the sun beginning to set, twilight overtaking the lands, Yolder just kind of puts her hand on the middle gun that she was standing next to and just commands that cannon golem to open its breech, giving her access to its cannonball. Since they're not charging, I might as well see if this works. I just kind of brush my hand against it, and you can just see just light begins to emanate from my hand and then wrap all around the cannonball. And then it just gets brighter and brighter until it's almost, if you weren't me, extremely painful to look at this close. As I will burn a spell slot and cast a little daylight on it.
Ooh. As the airship becomes a glowing beacon of light now, with the source of it in Yolder's hand.
Oh. No, that's only like 120 feet out, so that's like to where Toman is. But we're gonna go ahead and close that breach again, and I will command the cannon golem to shoot out to its maximum range.
So it's a 60-foot radius.
120 because it's additional 60 on top.
Basically like that. As the shot is fired off into the middle of the fields, as crunching into the ground, as just this emitting light shrouds it in the middle of the...
Perfect. As I issue the mental command for the other two guns to open their breeches as the other one reloads.
As you start to reload, or magic placed, you start to hear something. Far away, wings beating high in the sky. You don't recognize it as first, but then you notice down on the far side of the field, a figure is missing. A creature of reddened wing. As in front of the army, you can look up, and as the darkened sky starts to part, red wings can glimmer now from the sunlight shining down below it as it just tail dives down. Gigantic wings open and flutter and stop it in place as it stands, or flies rather, maybe 300 feet or so off the ground, as this gigantic creature stands before your army. Saying stands, flies before your army, gigantic wings fluttering in place. Children of Omnia! As this voice just rings out across the plains, you can hear the clattering of metal, people shifting in place. I am Garcia, the Dragon Flame. I come here to issue your death. We are the Scale Dominion, for Garcia has claimed your god. Your time is over. You build kingdoms that are a scourge upon this land. Your era is over. But Garcia has his eyes upon you. Your lands, your treasures, and your lives. If you wish to save any of it, flee, so that you may live maybe one more day. If not, this place will be your doom. As a screech just echoes out throughout the battlefield as the gigantic wings buffet him away as he turns, starts to fly back to his lines. As he reaches about midway, as another cannon fires off Yolder. Where are you placing it?
No, I was holding.
As you hold it,
Yeah, 'cause I just
as
had to
he
reload and put daylight, so I have. While he's talking, I just have 3 daylights ready to go, but I'm just holding them at the moment.
Gotcha. As he starts to fly back, your magic now in place, there's a shine in your eyes for a moment. The sun passing over the horizon as that gleam in the sky passes. A moment of blindness as it strikes out that gleam, and then you hear it. Before your eyes adjust, as your eyes start to come to, you start to see the far side of the battlefield, and you just see clouds, dust, being torn up upon the plains. As everything starts to advance. So I'm gonna need some initiative. Got to delete all these guys. What are you guys doing on here?
Obviously, I'm at initiative 500.
I feel like I'm at 145.
Oh wait, Brendan's like deleting everything.
Yeah, sorry about that. Alright. Let me actually see this, because I think that thing broke something. Alright, I'm going to have to do this a different way. I forgot that my micro fucking broken. But that's probably alright, because you guys are the only ones I need to know about.
Actually, you know what? Ignore Freddy's rule, because I'm just gonna use him like a mount.
Get it? Alright, we got everybody on there.
Alright.
Other Toman.
He goes when you go.
Does he?
That's how Simulacrum works.
Oh, well, there you go.
That seems even more powerful.
I
Get
also
out of here,
found out
Robert.
that you actually can, your Simulacrum actually can make Simulacrums of Simulacrums. You can go all the way down. They had to specifically ban that for WotC, like for Adventurers League. I thought
Yeah.
that it didn't work that because of the disclaimer at the end, but yep, if you wish for it the first time, you can just keep casting it until you have 30 of them or some shit. Goofy. That's how you get talcum powder. So don't do it.
Alright. Now that I have my list, the initiative goes away. Because it's not going to be any useful during this. But I got my list of what turns you guys are going. And we start off seeing who gets to act first. The good old D20. Low is bad guys. That's just a
Yeah! Oh, wait.
Ooh.
Yeah!
Hell yeah.
As the Allied forces go first, as everyone holds position, except for one. Alright, let's get this fucking party started on! As you can hear from the top of a hill, down below where the airship is positioned, as you can see a plethora of cannons just lining a ridge on top of a hill as gunshots fire off. As you can just hear as just a gigantic barrage of cannonballs gets launched across the field. As you can see creatures on the very forefront as they start to charge forwards into the fray as just explosions of mist of fog and gunpowder rain from top of the hill. You can see down below the dust clouds start to explode as well. Impacts upon the ground as creatures, they start to charge forward and bodies remain on the ground behind as the the cannon shots just wreak havoc upon their mid flanks. Besides that, nothing else is able to act as these forces charge forth. You can see lizard men, some upon gigantic lizard steeds, start to charge forward, although keeping formation as they start to charge the line. As they all just start to advance. The forces staying in formation as much as they can, breaking away around hills. As you can see these forces just starting to converge amongst you. As some of them show themselves jumping into this daylight upon the field as their forms flash for a moment as they pass forwards, as wyverns begin to advance as well, swarming the skies and these gigantic dust clouds. 7,000 or so kobolds start to charge the line as the orcs start to sweep in, starting to clamber over hills as their numbers start to disappear amongst the hills for a moment, but you can start to see their swarm starting to pass over bit by bit as they continue their advance. As Desmond, what do you want to do?
As I see the guys start going back over the hills, I yell out to the cannons to try and get a beat on them to break up their ranks. I'll move up to the front, more or less, and kind of like do like a back and forth up in the front line to try and assist with helping anyone that might need it with a buff or whatever, and attacking anything that comes within my range, because it's pretty far still, isn't it? It's like over 500 yards.
Yeah, they're still about like 300 feet out from where you are now.
So when I think something's close enough, I'll try and pick it off, that kind of thing. But yeah, basically just trying to help people with directing their fire so I can clearly see over everything.
Alright, giving some instructions, but not quite in area of fire quite yet. As you hold until the clash commences. Cinder, what are you doing?
I see approaching some of the front lines. Seeing Desmond coming up, I'm gonna go ahead and get nearer to the front lines, and I'm going to firstly I'm gonna turn one of our little soldiers in the front into a Tyrannosaurus.
Oh, so one dude turns into a T-Rex.
And with the rest of my turns, I have 300 yards on my extended Eldritch Blast. I'm gonna try and separate groups and pick off people if they come close enough.
The tiny little T-Rex. As this unit loses one man.
It's blue.
Wow, great job, Cinder.
What's the CR on the T-Rex? 8. Alright. Good shit. As one of these members just explodes out of the side of his unit. As you can see, it's starting to clamber down. And you can just see its reptilian eyes start to deadlock on these creatures charging forth. As you also hold your position. Toman.
I guess I would have had to have picked a pretty strong-looking guy for it to be a CR8, so looking for like one of the warriors.
Oh, that
down
is
there.
true. Yeah, nothing down there is going to be a CR8. No, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, take that polymorph, shove it back inside your
Yeah,
yourself.
pull out the true polymorph.
Yeah. Yeah, then I'll just get ready to start picking people off.
Alright, start to take up. Toman! What are you doing as the armies start to rush forward?
Both regular Tolman and Tolman 2 will lift their hands into the sky as this strange egg of shadows and darkness will appear before bursting with giant wings that seem to scare everyone, as we both will cast Illusionary Dragon.
120 feet.
Since I don't have actual dragon, I'll just use like one of these random creatures in my monster list as to represent.
Alright. It is... Oh god, how does this work?
It doesn't actually have any stats.
In a minute.
There's no stats or anything.
So I just, bonus action on your turn, you can move. It doesn't have like an area of effect or anything around it, does it?
Anything that can see has to make a save. Otherwise,
Throw me 3,000 saves right now.
Yeah. Any of your enemies that can see it must succeed in a wisdom saving throw and become frightened of it for a minute.
Don't forget to shoot this one.
Oh god, it's so much text. This is turn location where to the line of sight. If you can move it, unleash a blast of stuff. And it lasts up to a minute. Okay. You create these two creatures. As you can see, these kobolds starting to rush forwards. The front line of their defense, or their offense, rather, you can see as the front line just starts to stop and crunch into the ground, as others just start to pour over them as their line comes to a dead stop. But then it's just a flow of other bodies as they just clamber over this thing, as hundreds of them in the front stop dead in their tracks. But there are so many of these fucking things that they just pile over each other and continue their charge.
It's totally worth, even if it's in just a minute.
Yeah. Alright. Lannister.
Oh, you should say something. Like, oh, I'm a god of war. I'm not a god of words, though. You should say something. Here you go. This is Lannister will cast Thaumaturgy on Ivar. Alright, come at me, you bastard! Oh, fuck, I can't, wait, hang on. Oh, Lannister. Lannister. Alright, come at me!
Red leather, yellow
Oh
leather.
yeah, I'm very juicy, yeah, just go right here, yeah, what? Don't worry about, yeah, come at me. This Lannister will sort of prepare his attacks and goad them to, come to the earthquake thing that he...
Alright, good shit. And then Ivar, as Lannister casts some magic upon you, you can feel something basically in your throat starting to... What are you doing?
Okay, wait, hang on. Ivar. Okay. So Ivar will ascend up, turn around and address the men. Oh fuck, hang on. I have to pull up the speed. I prepared this ahead of time.
Ooh.
You're learning.
Yeah, I know, I'm learning. Men, now is the time we turn the tide. Now is the time of our finest hour of moment. Whoever you are, from the lowliest slave to the most exalted warrior, you have made your mark on history. You have proven yourself worthy of any and all praise. We are the exalted. We are the ones who will bleed, and we are the ones who will win. I offer you victory. Follow me to victory. Fight or be forgot. It's a small speech because I only have a minute. So
Yeah. You start to hear all around you just the clamor of weapons and arms around you. The ones directly behind you, you know them to be Beatty's forces, as they have stern faces upon them as they watch you as you speak. As they, once you're done, raise up shield, place spear across it, as you can just hear this audible clink, 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 as they all go into formation. You start to hear the voices of the Iron Wall. Iron Sharpens Iron! Iron Sharpens Iron! As calls...
Iron Sharpens Iron. Lannister starts chanting too.
Calls ring out through the battle line as the enemies very rapidly approach. And then Yolder, last but not least,
Wait.
party line.
Also, what's happening? Sorry. Ivar thrusts his scale bane out, actually, and enshrouds it in a black flame. It seems to light up the air, so cast Holy Weapon.
Aw, yeah. Good shit. Alright, Yolder.
Hearing the words of Ivar, just ever so faintly, but I have pretty good perception, even though I'm a little bit out of range. And seeing the Drakes step into the daylight, can I totes my goats, use my reaction to fire the cannons?
Sure.
Nikos.
Have these things ready.
Yeah. As he concludes his speech and summons forth the black fire, 3 cannons ring out and 3 glowing beacons scream across the battlefield.
Alright. As they sink into the ground, where are you sinking them? I think I missed the other ping. Ah. Oh yeah.
And they just cycle and begin to start to try to track out to the battlefield, but their accuracy is going to be pretty shit. It'll be fine. Never mind. Yeah, so I'll just start tracking some of the aerial targets and getting ready to start laying into them, shooting into the wyverns.
Gotcha. Alright, good shit. And with that over, Allied forces, those prepared, start to fire off again, although the creature's still quite a ways out. The only ones that are really able to get shots off are basically the Dwarven cannon crew still. The ballista still out of range by quite a bit, even their long range, as the cannon crews rain out once again, zeroing in on their targets and firing heavy shot this time. As these creatures starting to come over the hill just start to splatter one by one, as just a plethora, almost 50 of these things are just rent and torn to pieces as they crawl over these hills, as they start to descend on the other side. The Allied forces brace themselves as these creatures start to approach. On the far right flank, lizardmen start to charge in. As they charge, aiming for this point in the defenses, this corner, some of them pass over a point. And you can see, what does your symbol of death look like?
Oh, okay, so this is perfect because they're right in the dawn also, or in the daylight also. So the daylight, of course, just looks like, you know, just a pillar of daylight, but then there just seems to be like this, it looks like, God, I hate to have to use a video game as a reference, but I don't know if you've seen like Mr. Negative in the Spider-Man video game, where it has like this sort of inverted color look to it, where it looks like it's black, but it's still somehow generating light. And it just looks like this big pillar of just like someone just turned a black spotlight on in the ground, except it's still somehow generating enough light to be seen. So it looks a lot like how Mr. Negative looks in the Spider-Man video game, where it just seems to be swirling around them.
Give me that damage roll. As you can see this swirling light as the left flank of this group of what looks like 400 or so lizardmen charging the line on these gigantic lizard backs just get enveloped on one side of their unit as they start to charge forth. As give me that damage, see how many you take out. Ooh, as killing a huge number of these things. Oh, what's that double? 96? As you kill 96 of these creatures, mounts enveloped as well as they crush into the front of these things. Other lizardmen striding up beside, not mounted, start to come up around the flank of their allies, but run face first into another of these symbols. This light enveloping the front of their unit as they also take heavy damage as they are completely turned away. Some of them tried to force their way through, but it's just death that welcomes them as these unit crunches in this right flank. Who, as a number of men fall as these lizardmen just crunch into these heavily armored units. Almost 200 men fall in the initial crash as they attempt to retaliate against these charging units, cutting out against them, felling about 40 of them or so, as the mounts fall as well, as lizard ceasing in their charge as they clash in. These other lizardmen trying to find another way as they just make their way around this globe, trying to get to the far flank, passing in. But then more magic explodes outwards as gigantic walls of slashing blades form. As what exactly does your blade barrier look like?
Yeah, it's been a while since I casted it, so yeah, like it just all of the like the legendary weapons of like myth and legend, whether or not there's like actual depictions of them or they actually exist, or just like, you know, like artist's interpretation. Like no one knows what Excalibur looks like, right? But everyone has, well, it looks like this, no, it looks like this. All of these weapons just seem to spring to life in massive form in just a huge line: axes, great swords, and it just begins to just start turning extremely rapidly.
Oh yeah, as they pass, about half of their unit passing over it, it springs up, cutting the unit in half, some charging forward, has more magic, the symbol exploding upwards, along with other smaller explosions in the midst, as give me damage for the blade barrier, one of the, or two of the wards, glyphs of warding glyphs, as their numbers get cut into by another symbol.
Yeah, more death.
Ooh.
So 140 on that, then what, 60-10 for blade barrier, right? But I have...
Give me that blade barrier!
Yeah, 60-10. There's 3 of those.
As not catching a ton of them and just cutting a line through their troops, but basically separating their forces in half, and then 2 of these explosions also go off. I guess that was the 10.
The explosive wards would just be like these huge cracks, because those should all be thunder. So it's absolutely deafening. It should be 5d8 for those, I think. Yeah. You said 2 of them?
Yeah, 2 of them are triggered before the Death Ward explodes outwards, as their advance is thwarted once again. Ooh, doing a nice amount of damage. As their advance is cut short, their line is basically forced to just retreat upwards across this line, unable to pass through the wall. Another one of these wards explode as they go, taking another 50 damage or so as these wards are cut short. This unit cut half their numbers as they are unable to completely wrap around, but they have finally seemed to make it to the far flank. As these other creatures charge forth, 2 more of the death wards are sprung. Creatures charging headlong into them as they spring forth, creating these walls of magical death that just are impermeable as a ton of these things fall, one after another, as they get enveloped by these walls. As, taking 120... 60 of them die in this charge as they are forced to retreat and maneuver around. Others trying to rush in the line formed by the cavalry of the lizardmen, while the rest charge this stockaded wall, wrapping themselves around the hills and charging forth. You can see these monstrous creatures now starting to lash around the edges as many of them start to charge forth into the front line, aiming for what looks like Ivar Lannister.
Ivar's in the air.
Just Lannister, as they start charging over this uneven terrain, slowing their advance as 5 of these explosions go off. Just give me 1 roll for the explosion. As 1 unit is affected by 2 of them, the other one's going to be affected by 4.
Are any of them frightened of the giant shadow dragon?
It does not look like it. It's the only one that appears, right?
No, it's as long as you can see it.
Looks like all 3 of these are within range of me.
I don't know, when the illusion appears, any of your enemies that can see it must succeed on a wisdom save.
Yeah, they were all behind hills. They start to charge forth. One unit that got hit by cannons is shredded by 2 of these explosions. The other one, let's see, hit by 4. Ooh, their numbers almost cut in half as almost 7 of these creatures fall to the explosions as they charge into the field. Lannister just gets enveloped by these creatures as the other ones
They all fall into the fissures.
Well, I get to pick some of them off as they get close, right? Before they get to him.
Yeah, as they charge forth. What are you doing to pick them off, Sin?
Well, yeah, that's what I was holding my just barrage of fiery eldritch blasts, just in a cone of just explosions all around them.
Alright. Just give me 1 attack roll and damage.
So that would be that.
How many are you shooting off?
I'm not gonna use sorcery points, so it depends how many turns I have.
You got about a minute or so.
So 10 of those. Plus
You
1 damage.
Shoot off 10 of them as you kill about 10 of these creatures as they come charging forth, as beams just striking down one after another, cutting into their sides as they just clamber onto the ground, but their numbers are still heavy, as some of them charge. Fire
Oh,
4
It's
times.
Eldritch Blast.
40, yeah.
Yeah, so you kill off 40 of these things.
Because it's Eldritch Blast, you get 4 beams per shot.
Yeah, so actually heavily reducing their numbers.
Fucking machine gun.
It just comes off like in my hands, just a cone of fire, and as it gets like 10 feet from me, it starts to look like that cone starts to split, and it starts to spin like a helix of flames that just spreads and then explodes in all areas in their midst.
Gotcha, as these things charge this dragon. So the dragon has no real form, right? You can just see it.
Yeah,
They
you can
just
see it.
dive
They can
and
attack it.
try to tear. As they dive in and try to tear into this thing, you can see them leaping and just passing through its form, turning on their heels to try to fight them again, as these things, again, are just charging forward, a mass of these horrible creatures, as you can just hear this from the back lines, and you can see these creatures turn their heads and then start making their way into the formations, ignoring the dragon. Although, spending a lot of their time against it as they attack some of BD's forces within the inner ranks. As they charge in, guards cutting down about 30 of these things as they lose about 33 of their number. As Lannister, you get enveloped by these things as they just start to tear into you. As you lose about... What?
Some of them don't fall into the earthquake fissure thing.
It is slowing their advance, but they are pretty good at jumping. And it is
Darn.
lit up by light, so it's pretty easy to...
Darn.
As they are charging forth, attacking into Lannister. And thanks to Lannister's pretty resilient armor, and these things, their numbers cut down drastically, only ends up taking about 9 damage in total as these things clamber around him, scratching in all directions, as only a few of the blows just barely able to connect, doing a slight amount of... As these kobolds, many of them stuttering in their step, but the back ranks just flowing over them as they start to advance. Once again, basically making the same mistake as their weird Drake friends, as some of them try to attack, but then you hear calls from the back line. You see kobolds dressed in cloaks and strange animalistic hoods with skulls as the calls are made out, as many of them stop their attacking of this creature and continue to advance. Their small form, though, seems to be broken up quite a bit by the barricade, as some of them pass through more magic. As these are walls of light.
Yeah, 10 minutes, baby.
As a wall of light springs forward 2 of them actually on the front lines, as does a symbol erupting. Give me a symbol damage and a wall light damage, and 1 ward damage as a ward also explodes.
That's your death. Wall of light. 48. Okay, that was 5. So
That is the death, as this front unit just clambering in head first into this thing, taking a ton of casualties. 156 of these things as they wrap around trying to avoid it, as they run face first into another one, as they take another heavy dose of casualties, as another one of these death symbols explodes forth, as this wall of magic is slowly forming in front of your troops, as it does not seem like any enemies can get through it, as the ward explodes. Is that the ward or is that the light?
that's the light. That right there is the ward.
They take a few casualties from the wall of light, cutting through their forms. Both of them, as 2 of them were triggered, and this other one taking a heavy dose of casualties because of the exploding ward in front of them. Although it seems like their mass just charges through the wall of light. And we fucked this up originally, but wall of light does not do damage when you walk. As these things continue their charge, as they start to clamber up on top of these gigantic armed individuals, some of them breaking off to fight with some of the humanoids in front, the Iron Wall troops, as they connect, slamming into each other, as the guards, or the Iron Wall troops, cut deep into these creatures, killing almost over 300 of them on their initial charge, as they just pour themselves onto spears, although they do kill about 70 men in the process, as these creatures charge in on these heavily armored units, as they actually fell quite a bit of them. Fell about 4 of them, 4 out of the 10, although letting loose a brisk bout of flame on back at them, kill about 60 of the kobolds in their charge. As the rest of the kobolds stand in fear back as they're unable to advance, although it does not mean the same for these units of magic, as they cautiously make their way around this dragon that seems to be snapping and biting at the units just pouring through it, as you all see above the front right flank, storm clouds start to form. One after another, after another, after another, and then bolts of lightning rain down upon the troops. As the front line, these 2 troops of men, lightning strikes downwards as lightning bolts start to rain. Ooh, I've got the wrong guy selected. Alright, as this front line, about 30 men are cut to pieces by lightning. It's on the far side. Toman, you can see heavily armored troops behind you. About 20 of them fall as well, as lightning bolts continue to rain down upon. As the kobolds continue their advance. And last but not least, lowering themselves from the hills, the orc units start to charge forward as well, finding an opening, trying to crush into this far left flank. As they charge forward, light again explodes outwards, as I'm going to need a dawn damage.
42.
Ooh, as this light bursts forth, as they take about almost 40 men or so. Actually, this one cut in 2 of them, take 80 or so casualties as they charge into this light. As some of them burn, they attempt to retreat around, starting to rush through this river as the water starts to bubble upwards. As the river just starts to flood off its banks in either direction, and this orc unit is just completely bogged down as the other ones continue their advance around the flanks. As they start to pass through the river, they actually only make it to the other side of the river, as that is as far as they can go in their charge. However, a creature on the far side, seeing magic starting to swirl around, you can start to see magic starting to form. What's the range on this? Actually, not quite yet. As you can see, robed figures with canes starting to follow in after what looks like heavily armored units on the far side. But the orc advance seemed to have been slowed enough where they could not clash within the line. As it seems like the wyverns start to split in two different directions, heading for the flanks, as one or two units start to head directly towards the center. As you can just see them pass over the heads of your allies. As archers try to take aim in the darkness, they are like screaming fury out of the night as they just clash down in the heart of your formation as they go after this large contingent of archers directly in the center of your men. As one troop of archers descended upon by these wyverns are completely annihilated. Toman, you can see these creatures as you summon your magic, if you're controlling your dragon, they descend and they just start ripping these archers apart as the other ones clash in. Thankfully, these larger contingent of archers able to defend themselves as they try to strike back, but still losing about 60 of their men as they fight back and slay about 10 of these wyverns. But there's over 200 of them in this group as they just start to wreak havoc in the middle of your unit. As Desmond, the battle has truly begun.
Yeah, and like I said, I would have been picking some of these things off as they got close. All these guys up here. And to help with that, I would have, instead of just using my regular fire, I would have been firing my piercing shot most of the time.
Gotcha.
Trying to get as many things as possible.
Give me the damage on that piercing shot.
Okay.
Ooh, as you cut loose, firing one after another into the horde of this thing, as you do a ton of damage, as you kill about 60 or so of these kobolds as they start to charge forward. Many of them scarred through the light, as this entire unit of over 500 or so kobolds are almost just cut down with the dregs, as you fell a good many of them.
I would probably get low enough to where Freddy's aura would be affecting them too. Try and get as much damage as I can on them. Then whatever. How many cannons do I have to direct here?
If you want to give orders to your units, basically your units are the ones with purple. So you got some infantry and gunners up here.
You've been firing them already.
Yeah, the cannon crew up here has been firing twice already.
Yeah, so I just would have been, again, assisting with whatever buffs anyone would need, and just continuing to fire my...
Alright, good shit.
I pretty much right around here.
So who are you shooting at this time around, since that was sort of your last turn around?
Yeah, I'm kind of like... I see that the dragons are kind of getting up on us, right? So I probably turn my attention on them a little bit, and I'll let a couple of cannonballs go off. So I guess 3, and I would be shooting everything that I can in 1 minute, whatever.
All right, give me a cannonball shot from Freddy, and then whatever attack you're using for yourself. Give me that damn. Give me that damage. Ooh. Which are you shooting? The one that just basically annihilated a small unit of about 100 men, or are you shooting the ones that are basically entangled with a large group of archers?
Whichever one is deeper in. I think this one probably the one that's deepest into our ranks.
Oh, those guys. Gotcha. I thought you meant the wyverns. All right. As you fire off on this large group of drakes, as
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I didn't even notice those guys were up there. You have guys in the air passing?
they just flew basically right past you, right towards your archers, and just tore into an entire unit up.
No, fuck that. All my attention would be on those things then.
All right, who are you shooting?
Yeah, I would get this one. Try and get this one down first.
All right, as the cannonballs fire off, not doing a ton of damage, but actually killing off one of them. Let's see, actually killing off about 3 of them or so from the damage. And then what are you shooting them with?
Yeah, I'd be shooting those things with my thunder cannon most of the time.
All right, give me that damage. For ability you're using, they are sort of intermingled with your archers at this point. You just fire off normal shots, just picking off targets, finding what you want to shoot, and taking headshots as one after another, these things die, doing a good amount of damage to their unit. Well, that's... Here we go. But there is still just a ton of them remaining. And Cinder, you see Desmond whirl around and start firing off of these wyverns, just swarmed past you in the air while you were focused on trying to take out these drakes on the ground.
Well, see, my original idea was to protect the air, and as I see they were able to get by, I turn on my proverbial heels in the air and head towards them. Reach out, and one hand burst of flame and one burst into darkness, basically, as I start to cast a hex upon each one of my targets, and as my hex hits something, that's when a firebolt hits it, and my hex moves, and my firebolt hits it, or moves. My fire blast, I should say.
Alright. Give me them damaging shots.
So this is... that.
Bolts of flame ring out, cutting down one after another.
Since I can move it with a bonus action each turn, then I could get hex on a lot of those.
Yeah. Basically every turn.
Well, assuming you assume 4 of them hit one target for the hex to hit it. Because I can only move it once per turn, so every 4 shots I can move it.
Alright, so 25 times 4 shots. About, alright, as basically you're doing like 100 damage or so, as, yeah, just shots ring out as just one after another is just pounded by these things, as you kill a good number of these things, kill maybe 30 or so, as shots are just raining out, being aided by the archers, pulling out short swords and fighting back against them, finding injured targets and putting them down, as a good number fall.
Do we have to command our units on our turn, or do they just fight back when it comes back? Do we have our first forces?
Oh yeah,
turn?
Elemental Affinity gets subdivided too.
They fight, but if you certainly want to give instructions, you certainly can. You can call out in the battlefield.
Just thinking about the contingent of Gatling duders.
Yeah. As Toman, what are you up to now?
I'm gonna have my 2 dragons just kind of have the one that's over here just kind of sweep through all these drakes down, just continuously throwing out their breaths for the next minute.
Oh yeah, give me that breath damage.
To be necrotic damage.
Roll me that damage.
Or do you want me to roll like a
No,
bunch?
just once.
All right.
No. As you are just focusing on breathing breaths on these units one after another. Are you trying to split up the breath, or just trying to do some casualties on all these creatures coming by, or are you focusing on one unit at a time? Because again, each one of these units are about 200 or so of these drakes just pouring past. At this point, it's just a wave.
Yeah, I'm just trying to sweep through, reduce like all as much as I can.
Alright, as you just a little bit at a time, as breaths strike out at all the units you can all around you, as they all take a bit of damage apiece. As actually, take a little bit more. It is AoE. As you cut down probably about 10 or so of these drakes and these 3 units of drakes around you, as the breath is just pouring out all around. It's just burning, I guess necroticing, just death starting to make these bodies just crumple to the ground all around.
And then the one over here will do the same thing, but mostly just on like this creature. Try to get rid of as much as spellcasters as I can.
Alright, can these things move? Can the dragons move?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You can move 60 feet per bonus action, technically.
Gotcha, so they advance on these, looks like casting kobolds, as the breath rings out. Give me that damage again. 23, and as about half of this unit is just dispersed with these breaths. They start to scatter in all different directions, trying to avoid, but with each breath, just 2, 5, 7 of them die as they just start to scatter around, and half of this unit is just destroyed. And
Oh, it's like 23 over like 10 turns.
yeah.
And then Tolman up here will... Alright, question. Does Tolman 2 get my tattoo?
I don't think he gets anything of yours. I think he's just a newborn baby. No magical items or boons. I guess boons.
Boons will...
It makes sense to get boons. Sure, he could have your tattoo.
Okay, so he's going to... Freezing Sphere, action search Freezing Sphere, using the tattoo to try to protect all the archers, as he will just Freezing Sphere like these 2 guys.
What's the range on Freezing Sphere? Or not range, AoE. Like 60 foot?
60 foot diameter. I did not make the test.
So 30 foot radius. Alright, so you could basically catch half this group each in this thing, as the ice shoots outwards, explodes in the midst of these 2 groups. You can see on the far left side, or I guess this Toman's right.
Sphere is a 60-foot radius. It's 120. It's a big boy.
Ooh, alright. So they take you more.
That's one of those the map spells normally.
Take twice as much, because they basically both completely encompass in this magic, as many of them flee, wounding a ton of these things, not quite killing any of them straight out. Some of the wounded ones fall to the ground frozen and dead, as the group to your right starts to flutter back up into the sky, as this unit continues its clash with the man down below, trying to kill these. And anything else?
Toman 1 will start to throw fireballs at this group.
Alright, how many fireballs you shoot?
I guess 3?
Yeah, because that other one... How many freezing spheres were you throwing? Just one?
He threw 2.
Or 2? Okay. So that is...
Because he only has 2
not
arrows.
nearly as much.
Well, I guess if it's like a minute, I'll throw 3 at these people.
Alright, as 3 fireballs come ringing out. Give me that damage for fireball. As the fireballs explode in the midst of this group, as you kill 3 fireballs, you kill about, what's that math? 38 of them or so. But they're just scattered all over the place. With each fireball, bodies fly, but the wave are just continuing as they just start to crawl up all over this gigantic, and their numbers barely seem thin. Anything else, Toman?
That's it.
Alright, Lannister.
What? So basically, I'm fucking surrounded on all sides.
These drakes are just all over you, clawing into you.
Right where I want them. All the targets. I'll just slash at them. What?
Give me that attack and that damage.
Slash.
Just cutting out, just fighting for his life best he can as he cuts into these things, killing quite a few of them, probably about 15 or so throughout the next minute as they just continue to swarm around him. Although fighting in melee, they do retaliate. As they cut badly into him as he loses about 11 health as they start to claw and scratch up into him. And I know, sorry guys, I'm rolling these on the DM layer because there's a lot of rolls from the macro and it will just fill the fucking screen. So
limitless math.
So I can't even calculate my own damage, so.
Goofy system. Alright.
At least you can.
Ivar.
And I'll also cast a little shoot fair because I'm surrounded. What? And I
Alright.
really want to.
Defend yourself the best they can. You know, your armor is so impenetrable at this point. A little bit more. It's only those lucky strikes that really get you, the ones that you cannot see, the ones coming from your blind side. You're not sure how much a Shield of Faith will really help, but never know.
Right. It's okay. It's 10 minutes. I'll be fine.
Imagine if Lannister had anti-armor. Britain would just shut down.
Alright. And also, I guess, gigantic illusionary dragons. They only last a minute. Are gone. Alright. Ivar, you see Lannister down below you just get swarmed by these creatures. What do you...
I'll go back where I want him, Ivar. So Ivar will brandishing skill. Command. Actually, catastrophe. Cool. So, first we had Nightmare, then we had Armageddon, now it's Catastrophe.
Oh, yeah.
This is dash going 180, and he'll clash into each tree.
Alright.
Ruling skill bane.
Coming to the aid of the archers fighting with this group of wyverns down below.
Yeah.
Give me that attack, that damage. And they are Draconid as they do take the full fury of Scalebane, doing 40 damage to these things as you just cut deep within them. However, entering the fray, they do retaliate against you. As these things, many of them continue their fight, but a few turn against you, although you are resistant, so their damage is actually reduced.
So you take 40 damage.
As you take 28 damage, as many of them turn and retaliate against you, as you wade through their forces, starting to cut through them. A plethora of tails with barbed tips and claws and teeth come raining down upon you, and although your armor holds fast, those lucky strikes, one cutting in every once in a while, and ending your advance, cutting your attack short, just enough. So 28 damage in total. And Yolder.
Fun question, are we doing concentration checks?
If you get attacked by stuff, probably, yeah.
Along those lines, my Hex I casted is at 5th level, so I'm concentrating, but it'll last all day if I keep it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if Desmond's cool with it, I would totally try to direct the Gatling dudes to focus on the Wyvern, just sort of calling out orders to basically all the ranged units in the vicinity to focus fire on the Wyvern. As
it seems pretty obvious that they are all turning their
I
attention
thought
to these
anything
things.
with a gun would be shooting stuff in the air.
you'd hope, right?
Hey, I didn't even know that they were there.
Send the shock troopers after them. Let me make sure this works the way I think it does. And knowing, that's only 30 foot radius. Well, too damn bad. Seeing that unit that just got absolutely annihilated, the Wyverns still just tearing through the remainder of them, and seeing, not wanting the will of the men to get shaken, Yolder will just mutter Vitae and activate the central rune here.
These things are not that big, as a gigantic beacon of light starts to peer outwards from this central location. As you can see, basically around Ivar and these two troops of infantry, that one starting to charge forth towards Lannister aid, the other one turning around. Actually, gonna have to face off against these kobolds charging in as well. Seem to be invigorated with this.
Yeah, so that way they can hold the line. That way that doesn't collapse, and heal if they can reach the archers behind it. That might be a bit too far.
Nah.
Okay, I'll just throw a bit of healing at Ivar though.
Alright, Ivar on the edge, fighting off the things at the edge of these archers, trying to kill as many as he can. How much he?
It's just a mass cure wounds is all that's in there, so I don't remember what that is. 3d8, I want to say. Mass cure wounds. There you are. Hey, enjoy your 20 health.
The magic explodes outwards. Ivar, you're healed for 20 health.
Woo!
And then for my actual action, I'll go back to the cannon in the middle and throw a daylight on it, and just aim that towards the unit that was annihilated, and throw that there, and then just have, once that daylight comes up, just cycle the cannons into the wyverns for the rest of the time. I'd also direct Asham Ka to move us back 50 feet.
Understood. Allied Force Durham, which is going to be next. She will do that. Anything else you want to do?
I want to put her on my initiative. That's all I would do. No, I'm good.
Basically, she just goes right after you.
She's my pet now.
As she withdraws the airship back away. But didn't actually get it. As the cannons fire.
50 feet straight back.
Straight back?
Yeah, straight. Right there. We're just moving on.
Oh, just a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, just
Gotcha.
we're not retreating.
Gotcha. As which one are you shooting at? The injured one that Ivar's fighting in the midst of the archers, or the ones that are just tearing apart that other unit?
Ivar is a more than competent flyer and combatant, so he knows he can dodge all of those cannonballs and the wyverns. He's a good guy. He's got this. As I'll lay into the wyverns that are about halfway cut through.
Gotcha. As the cannons shoot out, as a good number, about what is that math? About like 7 or so of them falls. It does 45 damage to their group as the cannons shoot out, crunching into the side of many of these units. But it still seems like the forces, it's less than half it used to be when it first ascended, but the other units still almost at full strength and still starting to do terror amongst. As the rest of the allied forces start to strike back, a counteroffensive, as starting the right side, Holy Light, Tyr's forces start to fight in as these men clash. These lizard men cutting down a number of them. Killing about 60 of them, but taking about 40 of their own as the Griffin Riders actually wait until their heavy infantry also clash as the fighting continues on this right flank, but these lizard men are very quickly getting whittled down to nothing as after falling into those multiple traps, there's not much they can do as the Griffin Riders sweep by and just cut into them. Killing 56 of them, although these lizardmen do retaliate, but only kill about 3 or so of the Griffin Riders as they fly, as this unit is almost completely annihilated. This man in the front, archers firing for support as they both fire off volleys from battlements into these lizard men, killing quite a few of them, killing about 100 or about 50 of them in total as the infantry continue to fight them off, although it does mean that this cavalry retaliating who start to cut deep into these troops as they lose a great number of their men in the melee as this troop of cavalry has been about halved in number or so. As other infantry try to assist, but with this gigantic wall of magic, there is a single corridor of combat that has been created between these two bubbles, and they just cannot assist from where they are. The other infantry is a little bit bogged down, but a great clash in the middle. Heavy infantry stabbing out into these drakes in the center as they kill a great many of them. About 200 or so of them are felled, but also taking casualties of their own as hopefully this infantry can finish them off as they do, as these drakes are cut low. One unit dispatched as the guards, these soldiers brought in, just the recruits from the Holy Lands, hearing the call from Ivar, some of them lose their lives. As heavy infantry again attacking, as these riflemen, armored riflemen from behind, archers will fire off as well, firing and firing into the midst of these creatures as they kill almost all of them, as they kill about 70 of them or so, and it's easily enough for the heavy infantry to finish them off, barely taking any casualties in the process, as the first advance of these drakes seem to have been completely stopped, as cannons ring off, this time aiming for these large entities in the middle, as cannons... As you can see, these 20 or so entities in the middle, these gigantic drakes, these behemoths, are cut in half. 10 of their 20 immediately turn to pieces as they are just shredded by cannons. The rest of these infantry try to hold their place, advancing, trying to hold the line, but many of them just trying to hold firm. Infantry in behind, taken up by
Brandon, you cut out.
Oh no, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, no, I can.
Oh no.
Man, I thought something went wrong with me.
I think he said all the tricks are dead.
Yeah, exactly. I read his lips.
Yep. As infantry turns to fight wyverns, as they cut into each other, as not a ton of wyverns left, as these infantry, just a huge amount coming to support, killing a great many of them, killing almost like 30 of them or so to reduce their numbers, as these gigantic beasts, saber-toothed tigers and crocodiles and things tamed to fight in the arenas are let loose by their handlers as they just charge into the fray, as they don't quite, but they tear into these things, taking only about 8 or so casualties in the process, as the archers in the fray continue the fight and cut down these remaining wyverns as their bodies are cut to pieces. The field rid of these menace, as the archers only taking about 8 or so casualties by the end as their allies came to the raid. Other archers backing up and firing against these wyverns, and then you hear the as Gatling guns open up on the wyverns as well, as they have killed all of these archers, but now they are a sitting duck, as their numbers are thinned little by little as archers fire arrows, bullets come ringing in, as about 30 of them or so are taken down as the flying armored individuals make their advance, cutting their way into these troops, although the wyverns do retaliate in kind, as they actually do take quite a few casualties, as about 10 or so of these armored flying units fall and break across the ground, but they do end up killing about another 5 or so of these wyverns, almost trading equally in number. Infantry on the front side advance to try to cover for Lannister, and the rest fighting off these kobolds that are clamoring over fortifications, although taking a heavy blow in the process, killing about 140 of them, but losing about 100 of their men as well, as these infantry finish off kobolds, taking about 20 casualties or so in the process, as these kobolds are wiped out. Archers advance and fire upon more kobolds clamoring on armored, strange men, not killing a whole ton, but still helping. Infantry advancing to help as they clash into the front of these units, killing almost all of them, but taking quite a few casualties in return. Then heavily armored men. Gouts of flame erupt in the face of these kobolds, and the rest of them, the 6 remaining of these gigantic armored behemoths, eradicate the remaining of these kobolds, as the field just becomes littered with bodies on the front. At this point, men start to shift, walls of magic protecting them as they start to reform lines, and Yolder, your mercenaries, seeing a wall of orcs starting to swim through river and advance upon them, start to fall back as archers fire and then retreat, as you realize your left flank cannot hold from where they are, as they retreat and reform a stronger line to face up against who they're about to fight. And then gouts of explosions ring out on the far side of the lake as a cannon, a singular cannon, fires. As the dragon cannon starts to rip through orcs, as killing about 60 of them or so in the next minute to come, as they start to clamber through river, as it just has a field day, along with mechanized rifles firing off into their mix, killing another 60 or so themselves, as this one group of orcs starts to get shredded, and even with ballista bolts firing in, as the ballistas do a heavy amount of damage, spears piercing 1, 2, 3 men at a time in the water, as orcs are just fucking spearfished to death, but units still remain. At this point, you can hear the call from the right flank and Yolder, you see men on horseback starting to peel away as cavalry starts to round the corner to start to support the flanks. As you can see them line themselves up, waiting for the clash and waiting for the charge, as so do the far side, as cavalry starts their encirclement of these troops. And with that, all archers in range have fired, all infantry have attacked, cannons have launched, the ballistas that are in range have fired as well, as the allied forces brace themselves again for the conflict to come.
Could it's totally not part of the normal character sheet, but just thinking about it, could the stone golems like throw rocks at the orcs?
Yeah,
On top of a big old hill.
much that you have as I start rolling stuff.
Oh god.
Start fighting.
Nope.
Discord.
What was that, Brendan, the robot?
Oh no, Discord.
Oh,
Is everyone dying, or is that just
Thanks.
me?
Better now. It was bad.
There you go.
Gotcha. Alright.
Quick, change the server back to US East.
What do you want roll-wise?
Give me improvised weapon, but 2d4 instead of d4. For whatever their strength is.
Yeah!
Woo! Yeah, the sort of spread out throughout the area, and it's a long throw down to the water. Ton of the rocks, and there's only a couple of these golems just. Psh, but you do hear the sound.
Good job, Stone Boys. Oh god, nope. As the lizardmen and wyverns and drakes round the corner, seems they're pressing their advantage, perhaps.
Hello?
Hello?
I saw a bunch of people
Yeah.
disconnect.
okay, I can hear people.
Yeah, I can hear people now too.
Yep, sounds better.
Great job.
Alright, as wyverns start to encircle and they find their target, weaving in this magic as they come around on both sides, one striking into the flank of these heavily armored soldiers, and one trying to cut in to archers as they come diving in upon them, who this unit of archers almost just eradicated in the charge, and these heavily armored infantry also take terrible losses as they lose about 60 men or so. Both sides try to retaliate, but they're not going to do a lot of damage, as the wyvern on the heavy infantry lose about 4 of their units, as the archers only able to kill one of the wyverns that are trying to harry them, as they are up in the mid of them as well, as drakes fast on feet round the corner and charge in to infantry as they fight, although thankfully infantry actually able to give harder than they got as they start to cut their way through. As these drakes just piling over bodies as dead are replaced by living as they charge into. Thankfully, to this magic put in place, so much of them are just surrounded by walls, impassable, and funneled into basically death. Many of them circling around as they are slowed as one more explosion rings off in the midst of it. Give me another warding explosion damage.
Do the archers get like a defense bonus because they're in the fort? Just curious.
Not the flying dudes.
Poop.
They just fly up over them walls.
That's where you're gonna put this. Where you're gonna make them sealed walls, and they just use arrow slits like Smart Fortress. God, Toman.
.14 damage as this middle unit taking a decent amount of casualties, killing about 14 of them, taking 28 damage. The unit, though, as they start to charge into the gap here, as they start to surround this unit of infantry, that does not seem to be in a good way. Although there's still quite a few of them left, as they will fight for their lives. As the first charge, killing 75 of them, but or I guess half of that, as they strike back, killing about 50 of these drakes. More drakes piling into this fray as this front unit, it is taking a beating. Men are falling left and right, but they are fighting off these drakes handily as crushing of kobolds also attack in, killing another 50 or so men. As the kobolds, losing 162 of their number, as these men are trying to hold the line the best they can, but they are slowly getting whittled down as drakes continue to fight infantrymen on the front line, but actually lose almost all their number as they charge into this fully stocked troop of light infantry, as Lannister getting surrounded, getting attacked once again.
By the way, all those dogs are gone.
As Lannister takes 14 damage from like 70 or so of these creatures swarming all about. As these heavily armored, or these gigantic creatures pounding and crushing over fortifications, avoiding this magic to crunch in to this heavily armored, or this lightly armored infantry on the front. The recruits of the Holy Lands take the full brunt of the charge as they lose about 80 of their number from these creatures, retaliating backwards against them. Actually are able to slay about 5 of these beasts, but their numbers are also whittling quickly as this other injured troop just going to continue westward now, trying to find a hole in the defenses, just heavy tromping about as they find it, leaping over fortifications to surround this troop once again, charging into them, killing off about 18 or so of their members before they retaliate. And although these boys are taking a beating, they're holding the line and almost completely wipe out these gigantic beasts as more of their number fall. And then magic breaks down upon their head. These casters of the kobolds continue their advance. And then, Toman, you see it above you. Storm clouds, the break of lightning, as they strike down upon you. As the lightning strikes once, twice, 3 times upon you, you take 40 damage from the constant barrage of lightning striking all around you. You just simply cannot avoid, unless you use abilities to negate it. As the other casters striking in on these infantry. Toman takes the full brunt of just the barrage of lightning as these units retreat, trying to find another hole as they charge into the fray on the side of this small pond bridge as they clash in. Although there are some of the heaviest men here to stop them as they just crunch against shields and blades as they kill about 20 or so men, but the troop of 160 kobolds that were there are completely eradicated in the fight, but they are just replaced. An endless tide of these creatures fighting forth as, indeed, the magic of the dawns fade. The riverbank flooding now is basically revealed as the kobolds no longer fear, continue their advance. The right flank almost completely overwhelmed at this point. More kobolds charging forth, charging and trying to wreck these standing leviathans as 5 more of them fall. Only one remains holding the line as there's just not much they can do to stop the advance. Oh, but they actually didn't do their damage first, so hold on. They do actually kill 40 of these advancing creatures, though. I've got to pull dead bodies off the line. As forces start to dwindle. However, the orcs now advance. As one more dawn explodes. Give me that dawn damage. As they start to advance, and I will also need 2 firestorms as well, as more traps explode. As dawn bursting forth.
See the firestorm.
Yeah, as these orcs, so many of their number eradicated by firestorms, doing
also the river
damage.
Gets even higher, as all of the other wards should trigger also.
Oh yeah, as the entire river just floods outwards, as this unit able to get to the other far side, but the other ones just bogged down and unable to engage. But the rest of these units still advancing as the orcs charge, crunching in to the right flank. Some of them having to deflect around this dawn as they form their lines, ready to receive the cavalry charge as orcs crunch into some of Ivar's.
There's a blade barrier in there too.
Oh, there is. Give me that blade barrier damage.
Yeah, that'll be going up for a while. So
That one. Those troops actually get rebuffed by that blade barrier.
62. Again, weapons of legend, ethereal in form and massive in size, just start blendering orcs.
Ooh, doing 42 as their troop cut to pieces as they are forced to retreat. And because of the river, they are long swim back trying to get the fuck out of there as that advances completely. As another movement, robed figures in the back as they start to advance around this magic. You can see or hear, some of you, the swirling of magic, and where there was nothing before, creatures start to form, almost growing up out of the marsh itself, as gigantic lizards start to form one after another, as they charge forth, wrapping around quick on their feet as they actually clash in to these heavily armored cavalry on the far side. Ooh. As they actually do a number on these knights, basically catching them by surprise. Maybe they didn't realize that there were any more forces. And then, thanks to the dryness of the weather, Yolder, something she's been working on, the river on the far side where the marshes were has actually started to shrink, and motion can be seen. The water churns on the side of the bed. Basically, the swamp marshiness has been burnt away by the sun, and it is quite obvious that ambush troops have been revealed as they give up their hiding places and intend to advance as well on the far side. Another 400 or so lizard men start to charge. With that, you look around, seeing the battlefield unfolding more around you. And then those of keen eye, especially Yolder, trying to keep an eye out on the battlefield, you start to see it. It seems like the hill, far off in the distance, starts to swarm as it just scatters into the sky as dragons start their advance. You can see broods splitting off in different directions, led by their respective elder, I suppose, as they begin to spread. Their wings beat with insane speed as they just start to advance upon the battlefield in all different directions, like hands spreading out, fingers reaching, claws looking to cut into the line, except for the center. The dragons of red scales land upon hilltop and wait. And with that, as we zoom out, we can see the current state of things. The far right flank, orc advance. The men are starting to crumple. Ivar's forces, ones given to Heartclaim's home guard, only wood and an overflowing lake standing in between them and thousands of orcs and kobolds. The other flank, lizardmen coming from river to ambush, also overrunning. The center, though, the center might hold. The drakes, their number has almost been cut even more in half. Maybe a third only remains. Kobolds still streak in, but they are being cut down one by one. The battle will continue. Desmond's up next, but I'm gonna go to a break. For 2 seconds, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I fucking knew it.
I get to talk for 20 minutes, and then I gotta go away. So, fuck you.
Indeed. Seems like things are quite dire for the flanks on the Outriders' front line here. Any ideas what to do, guys?
Yeah, you'll see in my turn. I've been really underselling myself. I made a macro how it should have been.
Send their wishes for wish.
Oh, there you go. The game breaks. You're not allowed to cast Wish in that fashion, so if you do that, reality tears itself apart, and the game implodes. And then, technically speaking, we don't win, but the dragons didn't either.
Let's see, I mean, the only weak part is the left flank that's getting crushed right now.
Well,
Everyone else is
cavalry's
doing
got
okay.
fucked up. There's an extra 400 units over there, and they are avoiding the the secondary traps in the forest, along with the death fucking bubbles.
I think my efforts are gonna stay towards the center so that they don't split our forces, so that neither side gets surrounded. It'll probably mean some people on the flanks get killed if you guys don't do it, but I think that's better than them breaking through the vanguard.
Yeah,
I think the important thing is that, if anything, the forces should fall back to the center. So that we form, instead of making a line, we form sort of a box.
But it might turn out that we just have to address the dragons, because holy crap.
Plus, the problem is the more you pull your flank, the easier it is for you to get encircled. Mm-hmm. And the battle plan, in case of dire straits, is to collapse into a V to the middle of fortress, so the center has to hold no matter what.
Do not let the line be broken!
Hold.
Coming wave of breath attacks.
Well, they're only, what, 40 feet? That's one block.
I mean, the only way that they'll break the center is if they trample over.
Considering the fact that Tobin's breath weapons were 60-foot cone, and they only killed like 10 dudes, it's fine. Our dudes will be fine. They only take like 10 dudes around. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but how many? I mean, I'm assuming it's like what, 7 or 8? How many are per pack of those dragons that are flying with their?
It seems to be each of these broods have one gigantic leader and 10 younger dragons to join with them.
That's a lot.
So that's not 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's not 10 dragons. That's 55. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. And you got the reports that they
See,
saw
the fun part about Lord of
50
the
dragons or
Rings
so.
Is at the top of the scale they just had like 9 ring wraiths with drakes, and we had like an angel, and that was about it. You didn't have to, like, it was mostly just foot soldiers otherwise. And then it works. They have 55 dragons.
Oh yeah.
Time.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
I gotta start
I mean, none of them have a
better
cool
than I
name like
intended.
Smout.
That's the worst that can happen.
I mean, our forces get completely decimated. We're forced to literally solo an army, and then we die in cars.
Alright, is everybody back and ready?
Wow!
Take
Yeah,
that.
that's my sound off.
Back to hard claim.
Oh yeah. Call the retreat. You get picked off. Alright, Desmond.
Advance backward.
Desmond, looking all around you, the front line, it's holding, but your forces are obviously getting whittled down one by one. The wyverns in the back, almost taken care of. There's still, there's about 50 or so of them.
50. Alright.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and try and finish them off. I'm gonna get. I'm gonna try and get to a point where I can kind of like get a good line of sight on everything.
Oh, these wyverns didn't get to attack. I mean, they're just fighting off flying units up in the air as they fight. Wyverns.
This is gonna work.
Ooh, Wyvern's almost cutting down all of these strange floating armors that Toman has created, but losing about 5 of themselves. Alright, sorry. Go for it, Desmond.
I think my wand can go up to a rank 9. Is that right?
Indeed, you will only be able to fire it off once.
Yeah, I'll probably just shoot and just let it fall off the side. I'm gonna shoot it at full power at what the remaining.
Alright, give me that damage from it. Then what are you doing with the rest of your minute? So level 9. That be. Oh god, math.
Just add
Be
6.
68 on top of that, so 14d or 14d6 rather.
Yep.
Cindy, you're on deck. Ooh, and then what are you doing with the rest of your minute?
Then, depending on how that plays out, whether I would have knocked them all out, or if there are a few stragglers, I would try and help eliminate the stragglers. If nothing remains, then I make my way back up to the front line to continue helping with the Drakes, the blue guys.
I mean, there are 50 of them down there. I highly doubt you're going to get all 50 of them perfectly lined up in a straight little line to hit with that lightning bolt. So yeah, they are not going to take a shit ton of damage from that lightning bolt. You will probably fuck one or... But there are a lot of them down there. So is War Combat. You can hit one guy really hard. It doesn't really affect his unit all that.
Yeah, your abilities take on a way different form in this way.
Yeah.
Like 10 of your lightning shots is a lot of damage on one guy.
Like,
10
basically,
guys.
so that was 61 damage. It basically did 6 damage to this unit. Yeah. Oh, it did twice that.
Yeah,
It did twice that because it's AoE. It did 12 damage this
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, are you like discounting lines really heavily?
I'm just gonna continue to try and get these guys out of the air.
What other attacks are you using?
However many of my shots I can get off with my regular gun, and I would have Freddy throwing lances at them.
Good. Give me the damage from your shots and from Freddy. I am going to say you have on-demand fireballs that cost you no resources. That would be a great option here.
So that's what I was asking. Aren't the fireballs the cannonballs that I asked you about that you were saying you were already firing?
What? No. Like your gun, you can shoot fireballs for free. Just like you have a piercing shot, you have a exploding shot.
A bursting shot, I think it's called, right?
Yeah, AoE does the most amount of damage in this particular form of combat, so...
You guys are talking about explosive round?
Yeah!
Is that it? Yeah. Yeah, the thing that it goes, you shoot it, and it goes boom.
Yeah, but it only hits like 5 yards to any direction around the...
That's like your little explosive bullet.
That's what I'm saying, it can't be that. What are you guys talking about?
Oh, you have something you got. It was like your last ability.
Your last class feature. It's like 17th level or whatever. It's an artificer
Explosive round. Read explosive round, Kishi. I'm a talcum powder, you Kishi.
You're killing us. Literally.
Alright,
Horses are dying.
let me shoot the land.
Alright, give me that latest damage. As Freddy just unleashes just a torrent of these lances piercing down into these creatures, as it does quite a bit of damage as it's just piercing and piercing and piercing these. Yeah, so for the viewers, and for, got over this a little bit, but obviously Keisha wasn't here last time and I don't know if I explained it very well. Also, it's a little goofy, because also, obviously it's gigantic war combat, and there's no way to really do that in D&D. Is basically each unit has health equal to however many dudes there are times whatever their tier is. So you got 100 dudes, and they're tier 2, so they're like armored dudes. Their health is 200. Everything that you do is over about a minute, so it's the idea of whatever you decide to do, you're going to be repeating that about 10 times. So if you say, I wade in and attack a guy, you're attacking him about 10 times. So I just take that damage and say, okay, I'm just going to take that flat damage. That's what you're going to do to the unit. Because obviously, the creatures in the unit do not have just 200 health, because there's 100 of them. They have, in reality, thousands of health. But I'm reducing that down to reasonable numbers that I can deal with, so I can press a button and do easy division in my head to, make an outcome. It's not 100%, but if I did 100%, I'm not a computer, so I can't do it that fast. When you do AoE, it's basically twice as much damage. So if you shoot a fireball, usually if you waited in and attacked the guys, you do 50 damage. If you shot a ton of fireballs into it, you do 100 damage. Obviously, you seem like fireball should do a whole lot more damage, but you shoot a fireball, guys scatter. You maybe only get 1 or 2 good fireballs off in your 10 fireballs. Maybe you kill 3 guys in one shot, maybe you kill 15 guys in another shot. It's all just condensed down into something that's somewhat reasonable to deal with. It's a system that both sides play as, and that's just how it's easily adjudicated. So, yes, AoE is usually better if you have the resources to spam it out. Alright.
I suggested that we just do 6 back-to-back chess matches, but he said that wouldn't work. I was like,
So I would go undefeated?
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I was like, Ryan's our pinch hitter, and if he loses by some miracle, then I can probably take the last round. It'll be fine.
Except
I'll
chess
cheat
isn't a
and
game where
use
you can just get lucky.
I'll cheat and use a Grandmaster AI.
As explosions rip through the inner part of these wyverns, bolts of black energy strike into their backs. A ton of them are cut down. Their unit is reduced to about half of what they were when they first advanced in the middle of your line. But they are still cutting and clawing their way through your... Alright. Anything else you want to do, Desmond? If you want to move anywhere or anything?
I don't know how many of those shots I would have gotten off, but
9.
Basically get 9. I mean, you fired
I
a
would've
lightning
casted
bolt,
haste.
and then...
I would have casted haste after the lightning bolt. So take away one of my turns, I guess, for haste. Oh no, wait a minute, I'm still getting shot then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Haste, fire, and however many shots I get off from that point on. Let me just do that haste to
Gotcha.
get this going through.
That'll work as you fire off a gigantic lightning bolt, haste yourself, then use the remaining of your turn to fire off normal shots as well as your explosive rounds. As at the end of that minute, haste about fades, but you have done a significant amount of damage. And actually, just give me one normal shot as well, because you are adding a normal shot into everything you're doing. As Cinder, what are you doing?
Not AoE, because when I cast my Eldritch Blasts, they're pretty good at hitting all their targets each time, and as I kind of mentioned earlier, I've been underselling myself, so I made a macro for what 10 turns of Eldritch Blast actually looks like. Just I reach my hands out, and the blackness and the fire swirl together again. Just half go towards these wyverns here, and half go towards pressing this front line.
Gotcha. So, half here, a fourth here, and a fourth here?
Yeah, that seems about right.
Alright, give me that damage.
That's what it should really look like.
Eh.
You can look at the macro.
I want to do that now.
Okay, that doesn't do me a whole lot of good, because I'm just going to divide that by 10.
No, that's 10.
I
That's
know,
10 turns because it's 4 blasts each.
but again,
I don't.
the unit in front of you has like 200 health. A Drake does not have 2 health apiece. So
What I was saying is that the other turns we had only said it was like 100 or 175. It's actually supposed to be
Sure. And this health,
550.
I can use all that. Gotta divide it by 10. Because it's over 10 rounds. So, doing about 55 damage. Half of that goes to the wyverns up above, so it's like 27. And then split evenly between the two down below. It's like 13 or so apiece as bolts go flying down at these creatures. The wyverns, you end up killing like 6 of them, and these creatures down below striking, you kill about 6 or so apiece in these groups of units as you start to cut some out of the sky, some down on the ground, as beams just start flying out all over the place.
Okay. I still don't understand how it's working, but
Yeah, it's a little goofy. Basically just, if you make an attack, whatever that damage roll is how much damage you did to the unit. I don't need to know the full number, because it's just extrapolating that, okay, you're going to be doing that 10 times.
Because the problem is, even if you are shooting 40 beams like for a single cast of Eldritch Blast, you're basically gonna hit one dude or maybe 40 dudes, and then
No, I would be hitting 40. I don't
yeah. So
understand.
if you hit 40 dudes, like you're not gonna kill a wyvern in a single Eldritch Blast. Is the problem?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
All right. Anything else you want to do, Cinder?
So,
No.
where my confusion comes in, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you mentioned earlier engagements and how those guys would get damaged, whether it be from infantry or from some of the AoE blasts that we were doing, you would see their numbers would dwindle.
Mhm.
So does that mean that you're dividing the damage into less numbers at that point, or does it still continue to divide into that awkward number that was there before the numbers were dwindled?
For units, their damage is corresponding to how much health they have, because obviously 200 dudes are going to do a lot more damage than 100 dudes. So I've got a macro that says, alright, I'm going to select these drakes, I'm going to click my war macro, it says, okay, they did 86 damage. They're fighting these heavy infantry dudes. I'm going to click their macro, it says they did 220 damage. So the drakes take 220 damage, the dudes take 86. Depending on how much health they have, is how many dudes they got, and done and done. Both sides deal damage to each other.
I see. So
Obviously.
you're just dealing them as one big health pool, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not giving an individual health pool to each 400 dudes in each one of these 400 dude stacks.
No. It's just that I was led to think that their numbers were actually dropping, but
There.
So what's the health
they're just all
pool
going
look
down
like on
slowly at the
all
same
the
time.
wyverns?
The health pool in the wyvern, you can look at 6, and I sort of wish I could show the numbers on all these. That I maybe I should have for this. It'd be a better representation of what this is. But basically, their thing is 6. They have 600 health, so there's 100 of them. Done and done. Every time you do 6 damage to them, it's basically like you killed one of them.
And then, like, units damage is taken straight because there's 200 of them in the heavy infantry versus our one turn of a minute long.
Yeah. And, yeah, single entities are handled a little bit differently, but basically the same principle. It's mostly just, hey, your damage doesn't go down depending on what your health is, because, just because you're injured, you don't do less damage. But that only really applies to, like, the skyship and, like, the individual.
So, I guess since I was thinking it wrong, I would have aimed it all at the wyverns because I was thinking it was going to do a half and half thing.
Oh, get it? Oh no, I don't remember what my numbers were. These guys took
You
12.
did 6 from both sets of drakes.
Okay, let me try to redo this. Yeah, when you're...
If it's too confusing, we can just not do that.
No, that's fine. Done and done. Yeah, it's just the idea of... Obviously the number's a little bit goofy, but you think, I'm shooting into a group of wyverns. The guy just said there was 50 of them. A wyvern has like 100 health apiece or so. If I shoot everything I have into them, if I get lucky, I'll kill ones that are already injured and stuff, and I might take down like 3 or 4 of them. It's not, oh, he said they had 400 health, so I'm just going to nuke them and they all die. Well, no, it's just extrapolation of what you're looking at. So it's...
I'm just going to shoot things and let you do it, because I don't get it.
That's what it is. Don't worry about the numbers. I say there's 50 wyverns there. Think, what am I going to do to 50 wyverns?
It just makes it because I can't really strategize either, because I don't get it. I just have to just blast stuff.
Yeah, you're a dude up in the air. You got spells. There's monsters all the fuck around you. What makes the most sense?
Well, to leave.
All right, Toman. Double Tomans. Back around. See if Nick's asleep.
Alright, take control of both Tomans, it's fine.
Let's see, copy Toman. There's still wyverns around, right?
Yep, there's a group of wyverns right in front of you.
See, I will
About 40 of them or so.
Do nothing because I hate everybody. I think they kill everybody. Is that fine?
Sure.
You just wish that rocks fall and everybody dies, and there you go. You did it.
How big is Storm Sphere? It's like 20 feet. That would be like half of a square. So how big are these squares each?
50 feet.
Oh, if it's a 20-foot radius, that would hit, like, basically the square. Right? Like a 40-foot diameter.
Yes, Tolman 2 is going to put a Storm Sphere, like, right underneath, I guess, the center of all these wyverns, and then so overall that would do, because of the bludgeoning damage, 7 damage over those 10 turns, and then he will just shoot lightning bolts from that, since that can extend, I think, another 30 feet. Let me just post the thing. Yeah, so I could send lightning bolts from 60 feet from the center, which is basically the entire square, so you're just going to keep doing that.
These things flying in and out around this sphere as they fight your flying armored troops up in the air, as they are just starting to get bludgeoned by the storm, unable to avoid it completely because they're in the middle of combat, as they take decent amount of bludgeoning damage, and lightning bolts start to strike out in all directions, as kill quite a few of them, kill about 10 or about like 5 or so of them, as more of them crunch down to the ground.
And then actual Tolman will true polymorph into. Let's see. That's better. I guess I'll do a Skull Dragon, which has to make it. I am gargantuan.
He sneaks on down. Bloop.
I feel like that all big I mean, I'm gargantuan. I should at least be the entire map.
Nope. That's how big you are.
As I will do as many breath weapons as I can, which I have to do those rolls.
What's your odds on recharging?
5 or 6.
Which is fine. Basically gonna do the same way, because the breath weapons are heat.
Cycle and breath weapon twice. I'll come up to this guy, breath weapon twice, and then just do regular attacks for the other turn.
Alright, as you breath weapon twice on to just this big old group of kobolds.
Yeah.
You kill like almost 80 of these things as your breath weapon just sweeps across them, killing gigantic swaths in the 2 times, as your claws come raining down as well. As give me that claw damage. Claw. As do. Since you are only doing that a couple times, but that's fine. As... Oh god, math. Alright, as you skewer and cut up into more of these things, as you fly by, as you tear into this unit, as you killed quite a few. Anything else you want to do, Toma?
That's it.
Alright. And Lannis out on the front line, surrounded by dudes.
I gotta protect the front line. Because if it breaks, then we're basically full. So I'm gonna keep doing what I do best. Nope, I crit. Eventually. 15% chance. Yeah.
You cut into this thing as the God of War yourself, cutting in, finding those gaps in where they are, doing a ton of damage. But again, only finding one foe at a time, cutting one at a time, slicing heads off. But at the end of the day, there's still almost over 45 of these things remaining as they continue to harry you, as they do retaliate in melee, as you take taking 6 damage in return. Toman, these kobolds are also going to retaliate onto you now that you're up in melee as they strike back up again.
Check your resistances, Tone.
Yeah, you resistant to normal weapons? I ain't gonna
Nope.
give me no resistance to normal weapons as you take 73 damage as the swarm just start crawling up your legs and wings and start to tear into you. As again, you are charging into a group of what was about 400 or so, now down to 366 of these things as they just start to swarm all over you.
I can't control his health.
Oh no, why not? Oh, it probably doesn't have edit on the health. There you go. Alright, anything else Lancer want to do?
Or can I mash into this unit?
Can you what?
Can I, join them, but not join them?
Sure, you can
So,
go up and group up into their unit.
Yeah, because I want to cast a little, Crusader's Mantle. Wait, that only lasts for a minute. Alright,
It'll help them on their next attack.
is there anything else that lasts for, more than a minute? I could probably cast. Help these guys.
Whatchamacallit? Spirit Guardians? That's 10 minutes.
What? I'll cast that. I'll cast that. 4th level. I forgot about that.
Assuming you did that at the beginning of fighting these.
Yeah, because I'm smart. I'm a pretty smart god of war.
Tear through these things. Yep, that's it. Just throughout your fighting these things, it is just tearing through them one by one.
What?
As I don't think the couple that connected to you, I don't know if you can even fail con saving throws. Give me one anyways. Concentration.
What? Do I have Warcaster?
Figure that. Oh, you're not next anyway.
Is it, after...
I feel like he does.
Right, I have Warcaster, so I have a bad.
Oh, you have plus 11 to your con anyways, it doesn't matter.
Alright, I'm ready. This is 29, mate.
You're fine, alright. Ivar!
Okay, myself. I'll make your life easier and make it hard to click the token.
Ivar, what are you up to now?
I will continue trying to thrash at the skill bait. Although noticing the impending dragon threat. Yeah, he'll make sure. He'll need to kill the wyverns first, so that our focus isn't split. So he'll focus on that.
Alright, you charge into the wyvern.
Yep.
Give me that attack.
Scale Bane.
Woo! As you also find a good opening, charging into the midst of. As you charge into the midst of them, but they do retaliate, as most of their foes falling before them, these armored knights, as many of them turn to strike out against you. As although they do not do a very good job, you only take 7 damage from their as their numbers are thinning and they just cannot deal out the fatalities that they need as their numbers fall. Alright, Yolder.
So with the tank in the middle fortress, we're pretty light on our feet these days with the supercharged engine, so I give direction to Ashim Ka to wheel us around to the, I guess from our perspective, to the right flank, because that is where the majority of my attention is, because I know we have the stronger left fortress with the special Ivar surprise inside in case things go really tense up. So we'll go to the right flank, and I will just be unleashing. Let's see. Are you taking my damage as a single broadside or both?
I think I calculated it as both. Yeah, I just calculated the CR of the ship as both.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I will just kind of have her just rotate the, so it's kind of go in this S pattern to just bring the left guns around, bring the right guns around, just keep cycling them. And she has the direction that once we get, actually, we're gonna actually fly over them and just open up the bomb bays, both of them, just carpet bomb that line. But before that, let me check the range. 300 feet. Good shit. As we're flying, yeah, I know. As we're flying over there, you can just see, like, it almost looks like there's like this growing, like the ship's almost growing like these golden wings. Except these aren't golden wings, or at least they have wings, but these aren't wings. As it just seems this massive swarm of fireflies just begins to spread out from the ship and then swarm down onto the unit. As I'm gonna cast another one of the 10-minute spells that I prepared. Insect Plague, right on this motherfucker. Just get fireflied, get swarmed. As that's 300 feet, 40-foot radius bubble, that should basically hit just the unit. As I'll just try to cut into these guys with insects. Glorious golden fireflies, just stabbing and ripping and tearing and doing whatever it is they do. Being beautifully incandescent.
Alright, give me them fireflies as the ship is screeching forward through the sky. It's on its turn. It will open up Bombay. Give me them bugs.
Yeah. 40,
Bugs!
and so, like, I don't know what.
Do you have 2 salvos?
Yeah. I got rid of one bomb bay, so we only have 2 left, so I'll drop one on the first unit and then the second on the second unit, and then try to get back behind the line, get back behind the ballistas.
Gotcha. And how big is your insects again?
40 foot, so it'll just hit one. Basically. 40 foot, or 40 foot diameter.
Gotcha. So it's basically just a square. You want it in the front of them? Front of their unit?
I don't believe it's friendly fire safe, so if I could actually just kind of squash it in the middle of the 2 units, that'd be great.
Blah. Alright, so you're trying to catch a little bit of both of them?
Actually, let's put it in the center of the northern unit. I just realized the way that this, no matter what, D&D is always about getting the HP bar down to 0. So just in the middle of the top one. It's like if I split my damage, that means they can keep swinging, which is bad.
Get out.
Oh, yeah, that's only one action to do that. Oh yeah, you're doing my cannon damage for the whole minute. That's right. Yeah, we're good. Because that still takes my action to do that on the other rounds.
You're firing off the cannons. Who are you shooting with the cannons? Same.
Yeah. It's just getting all the work from me right now.
Alright, so it fires off its cannon, using that single entity, killing off another 45 of these things over the next minute, as they just start getting swarmed up by bugs, unable to really avoid it.
That's it for me.
Alrighty, and let's go ahead and do this as the ship flies over and opens up bomb bay doors and just fucking annihilates these 2 units. Give me the bomb bay door, damn it.
It should be on the cannons?
As the cavalry will charge in to these orcs, as hopefully they will get a good charge off. Whew, these heavily armored orcs on the far flank losing about 160 men. These cavalry charging in, killing off about 240 of these things, as they this unit you're full. What the fuck? Minus 240. There we go. As they try to retaliate, but They're weak in form. They will not do a ton of damage to these two units as they lose a couple men, but these two cavalry, given by the Iron Wall, are tough motherfuckers.
Okay, yeah, we just did standard gunpowder keg, so it's 7d6 over that flight path.
Alright. As, yeah, from both of these groups, about 30 men are caught in the blast as they are just torn to shreds as both of them explode onto the... As your mercenaries finding the opportunity, going to surge forth, although they are still a bit outnumbered, as they will try to cut in to these orcs, killing off about 36 of them, but losing quite a few of their number as they lose about 35 of their men as well, as mercenaries are not going to last very long. Archers fire off. You can see exiting the fort, creating a firing line. About 100 men, riflemen, lowering down their rifles, taking aim, and firing, trying to get close enough to make a fire, or make a shot. As they do, as archers fire off as well, as through both of them, 80 of their numbers fall. Flame cannon firing off, turning to fire on this far flank as well, as it is going to, not getting a great shot off, only killing about 20 of these men, as another archer unit firing on them as well, killing 30, as this closer unit is slowly getting whittled down, although flank's not holding up too great. Infantry are going to turn, seeing that, thankfully, the advance is stopped from the ones across the water, going to come help their comrades as they strike out. Heavy blow, killing a ton of these orcs, being retaliated against, as this group of orcs almost eradicated, as they take about 32 of their own casualties, as iron golems trump down and just start crunching into, or stone golems start crunching into these orcs. They crunch in, killing about 48 of them or so, swinging fists. The orcs retaliate, but stone golems are immune to normal weapons, something that simply cannot be bypassed by these orcs, as armored rifles fire into these kobolds, killing off quite a few of them, as these heavy infantry clash. One actually retreating back to finish off these orcs now that the river is overflowing, but the fighting in the small corridor continues as they fight against kobolds, losing quite a few of their number, but killing off almost 250 of these kobolds as half of their unit is just eradicated, and of course these orcs as well give up a bit of a fight, but this unit wiped off the map. The right flank, Ballista is also going to aim at orcs on the far side. No, they can't. They're positioned on the wrong wall. Going to continue to fire forward as trying to sure up this center, as right by you, Toman, ballista bolts will fly into the mix of these kobolds, killing off about 70 of them or so as we continue to go along the line. Men advance, unable to really get a position because of the magic, but these lines are reformed. Infantry crushing into kobolds as cutting down quite a bit of their number, but losing about 30 or so of themselves in the process. These armored giants, I forgot to reduce their health, fight off against them as arrows fly in. Actually, these guys are focusing on wyverns, as two archers firing in at wyverns, as doing 80 damage and 80 damage apiece to this unit. These archers are able to take down the remaining wyverns, as 200 archers letting loose arrow after arrow, easily enough to take out this unit. as it is finally taken care of in the heart of your troops. As Gatling troop moves down, starts to open fire into Drakes, killing off 40 of them. Infantry, these armored individuals still in a deadlock with these kobolds, barely doing any damage at this point, the one that remains. But it fights best it can as it's being overwhelmed, and the last of Desmond's gigantic army, armored Goliaths fall, crunching into the ground. Infantry swoop in to finish off these Drake behemoths, and easily do so, only losing about 5 or so men in the process, as there was only about 2 of these things. As infantry continue to move out, crunching in the line, the center not looking great. Kobolds fighting and dying as the center army, the Iron Wall, is slowly starting to fall. Archers now relieved from the wyverns let loose on the center here, firing, killing all of the drakes in the center as a whole is opened. The very center of the formation, light can be seen on the other side, it seems, as their center advance crumble. The units within, sort of mixed in with Lannister, continue to fight as a majority of the surviving troops from from Beatty's forces turn. If I can select a little rotate button, fuck, there we go, as they turn to eradicate these drakes, as they are gone. Beatty's troops only losing about 11 men or so, as the hole widens. Beatty's troops continuing to advance, pushing out the center.
Good job, man.
And finishing off these as well, as these Drake forces seem to have basically completely crumbled in this last retaliation. It's heavily armored troops, after shots fired off by rifles, cutting down their numbers, archers firing into them as well, cutting down them even more, cannon shot firing in as well, doing a terrible amount of damage, aiming at these gigantic Goliaths as they are just torn to pieces, as they are eradicated off of. Heavy infantry cutting in, fighting, as this front line is slowly, quite quickly actually, beginning to clear. There we go. As the center has held, the flank continues to fight. Cavalry stuck in combat with lizard men, light cavalry charging in to try to relieve them, thankfully getting their charge off, doing a decent amount of damage to these lizards before they retaliate. As heavy cavalry continue their fight as well. As the battle continues on, and infantry are just colliding with lizardmen, as I believe, they are able to finish off this unit of lizardmen that came around the side of the flank, as they are torn to pieces, although they have reinforcements behind them, as these heavy infantry, all they can do is try to fend themselves off against these swarming wyverns, but they are no match, as heavy infantry of Tyr's army are torn to pieces. as the Griffin Riders tear down to try to aid in these gigantic lizards, killing off about over 35 of them or so, although the lizards do retaliate and take down one of the Griffin Riders as they get stuck in the... With that, archers attempt to advance, but with the enemies eradicated in the front, no other troops can really be reached, I don't believe. As about it, the wild beasts, though, unleashed, start to charge forward now as they are let loose upon the field. Charging out. They charge to encircle these creatures, slowed down a bit by the cracks in the ground. One of them is able to engage, one just out in the field as they attack these small group of remaining drakes as they are eradicated, as these things barely take any casualty. I believe that is it. Then, and I know, I apologize for my players. I know this takes a while. You just sit back and get to watch how the battle unfolds until you try to find out a decision to make and try to change. I understand. As creatures fight. On the far right flank, giant lizards against heavy cavalry, as giant lizards take a heavy toll. Cavalry losing about 8 or so of their numbers. Drakes turning to fight against light cavalry as they are trying to just swipe up around this corner of the map as doing quite a hefty amount of damage, and these two lizard men groups swarming these other infantry. Don't know if they're going to be able to survive. They take 40, kill about 50 in return, as infantry clash in as well. As they lose about 60 men. They're down to maybe 20 men or so as they strike back, but barely able to wound this incoming troop, as there's barely any of them remaining. And the wyverns going to swoop in and take out the remaining of these forces. They're only able to kill about 2 wyverns in this melee as they are torn to shreds, as this flank is being annihilated. Wyverns attacking into these archers. These archers cannot hold. They kill a single wyvern in the melee, but the 10 or so archers that are there, they just cannot defend themselves. Get eradicated as well. As the center did well, but now there's not much else they can do. As another unit of infantrymen fall. Fuck. Damn. As the corridor where the lizardmen cavalry was charging starts to open up for just a bit. But thankfully, there's another unit to take its place. And I minus the wrong one. As magic is swirled in the hands of these creatures, as you can see balls of flame seeming to appear before them and wrap up and strap onto the front of these creatures. Strap on? Crunch into the front of these creatures as balls of flame seem to swirl about. As about 40 or about 20 of these men fall. As the center, almost all but gone, the kobolds continue to advance their horrible charge of death as they try to open up this hole. Magic pouring out, trying to kill these advancing saber-toothed tigers and other giant monstrous beasts as kobolds charge to face them, as they all get stuck into melee in this craggy terrain as others charge forth to fill the gap, charging and attacking as this unit of infantry cut down by the new advancing forces, only able to kill about 74 or so in their stead, as the rest of these creatures face off against the beast on the field, fighting and fighting. Ooh. The 500 groups of these kobolds just rip into these beasts. They are only able to hold them for a very short amount of time, as they try to retaliate the best they can, but it's just not going to do it. As kobolds fight, losing 112 of their number from the middle group, killing 100 or about 75 of these beasts, as the beasts might actually survive this initial assault, as they do just barely, although 3/4 of their numbers are cut down in an instant by the swarm of kobolds, as the front line continues to fight, as this group now wrapped up with the dragon all turn their attention and try to cut it down, as Toman, you take 60 damage or so as you retaliate, and I get to just press the button. Get to press the retaliate button.
What's the retaliate button?
It's you deal 32 damage back to them as you just try to fight them off. But you do take 60 damage as magic scorches down atop your form as well, as you take another 40 as well, unless you're resistant to lightning.
Me? No.
Alright, so you took 100 total damage from the attacking kobolds and the kobold shaman, and once again fighting in the small corridor, these heavy infantry doing a fine job holding the line as another group of kobold just clashes against their shields, but they do lose about 30 or so of their number, as they are also starting to get whittled down, as the kobolds finally start to make their way across the river, as they start to break up onto the far shore. Ugh. Although not their supporting troops, as all of these advance and start to engage. And engage they do, cutting and cutting, as these guys lose a lot of their number. Kobolds, about 100 of them die as they try to swarm the gigantic stone golems. Golems fight back though, killing off quite a few of them, but yeah, obviously the kobolds are making no headway as they start to turn their attention somewhere else, as orcs clamber on to infantry, killing 85 of them, losing 73 of their number, as kobolds also crunch into this flank, as these troops are not looking in a great way. Then the orcs continue their fight against cavalry. Thankfully, it looks like the cavalry charge on the far side has stopped them dead in their tracks, and is possibly even overpowering them at this point, as the heavily armored orcs just start to get torn to shreds. It seems like they're no match to the, much better trained and heavily armed cavalry of the Iron Wall Republic, as one of their units is just eradicated by the heavy cavalry, as although it may be a little bit too late. Oh, no, as Yolder, your infantry taking another 12 or so casualties, but still just barely holding on, as they kill 15 orcs themselves, as some of them are still just barely alive, as these two infantry try to clash into each other, but there's so little forces on either side at this point that they're just trying to kill the last survivors. There are 24 orcs fighting off against these 68 soldiers or so, and within the next minute or two, I'm sure the orcs will be gone, but still fight on. With this, orc casters finally make their way across as the dawn fades, magic spent, as magic used, though, upon infantrymen in the heart of all of this as they strike out, lightning surging forth as they cut down 40 of these men from range. As it is just a gigantic clusterfuck of marshy terrain trying to cut into each other, climbing up out of the river.
Do these guys take some more damage because they're just standing in the blade barrier?
Yeah, the back half of the... Oh wait, these guys retreated, that's right, because they could not get through the blade barrier. So, that's right, so these guys actually did not take that damage. These guys also did not take that damage, as they just turn and start to cross the river at a higher point, but to just make it across, unable to, because that river is fucking flooded like a motherfucker. And with that... And with this... Well, the dragons continue their advance to the far flanks. You can see white scale starting to drift towards cavalry on the far side. You can see green scale, though, starting to surge forth overhead of kobolds as they find themselves a target. You can see they start to descend slightly above archers as breath weapons are unleashed. As younger dragons breathing flames upon these archers, one after another, as this much larger, horrible creature breathes down as well. Yes, gigantic clouds of horrible acritic smoke that seems to just have men grasping at their throats and then falling dead. As with the two bursts of poison, about 50 to 60 or so men fall dead as the larger dragon swoops and starts to retreat again as the youngers engage in combat, cutting and breathing all the while.
Oh yeah, there's only 10 of them. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought
As
there
the
were
Reds...
50 young dragons.
There's 50 in total.
Yeah.
As blue scales also begin to advance. However, they have a different target in mind. Streaking over, they seek to silence something that has been ringing over the battlefield from the very start. As blue wings drift over and cold, or actually electric blast emit from their throats as they try to silence these cannons. You're not a target to a thing. Fuck, hold on. What's that? You're a young blue dragon. There we go. Ooh, as the breath from the young dragon kill about 20 or so of the cannon crews, silencing 20 of the cannons as the larger breath comes ripping in, as actually not cutting very clean, only killing another 10 to 12 or so more crews, as again the blue dragons land to start the engagement, as the blue dragon starts to drift northwards away from the battlefield. As Black Wing starts to and circle around to the far flank. And with that, let's see. We got some other Wyvern boys around here somewhere.
Lower left.
Yeah. As they start to dive in as well, finding a hole where infantry are trying to fight kobold as they start to streak in, but actually finding something a little bit more dangerous to them as they cut down, reaching for the walls of the emplaced ballistas, and trying to tear them to pieces. Which they do handily. The ballistic crews, unable to really defend themselves in melee, try to cut out best they can and slay a few of these beasts once they're in melee, but it's not enough, and the ballistas are torn to pieces. Their crews turn to corpses.
I really should have told them to hold for the flying units.
And with that, the combat has commenced. Now the engagement of dragon wings in all different areas of the battlefield. Desmond, what do you do?
Alright. I'll turn my attention to the damn. Get flanked here pretty hard. I mean, they're right there in front of me, so I'm just gonna shoot the dragons that are right here.
Taking aim at young dragon.
I can't seem to click on them, so but it's still the green ones. Right?
Sure. Yep. I gotcha. 10 juicy targets swimming through the air and landing to claw at these archers to keep them kept in.
I'll just continue the volley of explosive rounds, followed with regular shots and lances from.
I need to cast haste again.
Is haste every minute or 10 minutes?
It's only a minute.
Just a minute.
So then, yeah, haste will be part of that.
Alright. Give me all those damage rolls.
Just a 3, though, right? And you'll extrapolate from there?
Yeah. Normal shot, explodey shot, and your and Freddy's. As the shots go out, as you cut and cut into the side of these things, you realize that the AoE on these smaller groups not quite as
around. That's wrong.
What do you mean it's wrong?
It shouldn't be explosive and piercing. It should be explosive and regular. Unless I can do 2 in the same round.
So 15, yeah. Alright. As your shots fly, you can tell that AoE not quite as effective as the smaller elite groups. You can only maybe catch 1 or 2 of them in each blast as they swirl and cut through the archers, unless you're basically eradicating the archers with them. But you do a hefty amount of damage on these creatures. Is that one? 24 on that. Gotcha. As you cut into these things, you actually end up killing about 4 or so of these young dragons in this flurry of shots. They seem to be almost ignoring you, just trying to cut into these archers one by one, cutting down their numbers. And after you unleash your fury, their numbers are almost halved. You've killed 4, injured some others.
Okay. And I tried to inspire as many of those, like this guy behind me, or any of these guys that I can see that can shoot up. I try to inspire them to shoot true.
Gotcha. Calling out, trying to use your boon to help them. Trying to catch the attention of anyone who can listen. Alright, good shit. And, Sid?
From my aerial view, I'm just trying to hold these lines with Eldritch Blasts right in front of me, and I see the dragons coming in from all sides. So while maintaining each blast and trying to hold the lines back, my scale begins to flare and my blasts seem to be getting bigger and bigger until, so no, it's not the blasts that are getting bigger, the fire is being channeled somewhere else. It's from the sky all around. Some meteors start to fall.
Oh shit.
There it
So I'm
is.
going to hit this over here, this down here, the white one's on the side, and then in front of me this green group. See if I can try and get both. It's a 40-foot radius, so I don't know.
The dragon's up in the air,
Hit his ass in the head.
so
So I'll just
Probably-
hit the dragon then.
yeah, probably not gonna get both of those dudes.
Alright.
So you're hitting each group of dragons, basically?
Yes.
Alright. Roll me that damage.
I gotta open it up. With the
Ooh.
primordial flame as well.
Fuck your immunity.
As you do a ton of damage. Although, yeah, with the meteors casting, what does this look like exactly, Cinder, as you stand at the forefront of this army and you look all around you and are aiming these meteors from the heavens down
Yeah, it's just you can
half
see
a
as
mile apart?
yeah, I'm like 90 feet up in the air as I'm trying to like cover from the air all my front lines, and just beams of fire are coming out one after another and one after another, and you can see my scale is just burning brighter and brighter as the fire is channeled around me, and then you can kind of see as you look up that it's because I'm casting something of a greater magnitude, and you can see is like, you know, as usual, it's just a tiny bead in the sky at first, and then it starts to scream as it gets closer and closer and bigger, as while they're flying, it collides with them right in the air.
And it is a 40-foot radius.
Yes.
Those are 80 foot. So that probably could hit the other dude then, right? On the ground. That's an 80-foot bubble.
Depends how high he's flying.
Yeah, probably. He's not super high, so yeah. As these dragons, let's see how much health do they have normally. As Cinder, your magic called down upon the heavens to strike your foes. You can see these massive explosions erupt, all of you can, and basically the entire line of these armies. As explosions explode throughout this area. As they fall away, you can see large forms starting to retreat backwards, as their bodies seem to be terribly scarred from the impact. And as they retreat, their younger brood are almost torn to pieces. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if any of them can actually survive that.
Not young whites.
Ooh,
At 163?
you can
Plus the fire, 165.
yeah, you see slow beating of wings trying to retreat from the hill of the red dragons, but all the rest, the younger brood, have been completely annihilated, except for the green up in the midst of your group, as these kobold shamans are obviously turned to dust, this creature taking brunt of it.
That is what I'm
As
fucking
is
talking
this
about,
one.
Cinder. Good fucking shit. It sounds like Cinder just killed 10 fucking dragons in a single turn. That's what I'm hearing. And I want you to know that I appreciate you!
It was more like, I don't know, like 30, 40 something? Like 48 dragons? No, 38 dragons, because he didn't hit the green ones.
Yeah, and you can see, like, by scale, one side of my face, the scale is just burning with the bright intensity of, a 9th level spell of summoning meteors. And on the other side, there's just a bead of sweat falling from the effort as I put 10 Eldritch Blasts into the front lines here.
Alright. Give me that shot.
Let's do it that way, since that's what we're...
Ooh.
Yeah. And you're dividing them up, so yeah, shooting off a blast into these two fronts, killing off about 10 on both of these lines as more of these kobolds fall to your blast of magic. Alrighty. Good shit. Anything else you want to do, Xander? You want to kill any more dragons?
That still only counts as 38, alright? My kill count currently is at 700. I'm at 742 according to my math right now. It's still only
Let's do
38.
it. Let's count by perspective lives saved. In a few seconds.
Alright, Toman. Oh, you shot the blue one up here, right, too?
No, I shot this black crowd, this red one, the green and the ones, and the whites.
Okay,
So 4.
didn't hit blue or didn't hit blue or the green young ones. Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Oh fuck, I didn't even know you hit the black dragon.
Yeah.
So he killed like 28 dragons because he didn't hit the blue ones. All right, Toman.
Fly over to
And also some shamans.
Yeah.
this green dragon right here. And I will blast him in the face 3 times.
So let's see. As we are getting on to single entity combat, it can go a little bit more raw as he gets to make his cons.
Get
Ooh.
fucked.
So he doesn't make any of them. As give me 2 more damages as he will legendary resistance the first. Whoo! Taking another 50 and another 62. Jesus, as you just rip into this fucking dragon up in the air as this dragon of green scale tinged in red turns and starts to try to fight back against you, but he is not looking.
And so we're still doing 10 turns, right?
Yeah.
So it would be like,
If you do get up in combat with him, he's gonna retaliate against you.
yeah. So it'll be 7 turns of 1 bite and 2 claws.
Give me those damages. Alright. Alright, as you deal quite a bit of damage cutting into his form as he retaliates against. Ooh, as you take 40 damage in return, as you claw up into him, he claws back down at you, start tear through your form.
Is any of that
The
poison?
From his bite? But it's fine. It's a small amount compared to all the slashing and other.
Yeah, it's just- it's fine.
Yeah, he's not using his breath weapon or anything. He's just clawing and biting. Good shit. Anything else you want to do, Toman? Other Toman?
Oh, so there's 2 Tomans. Where is me? Oh, there it is. I have so many things open on my sheet. This is why I don't game, guys.
We only have
What,
the
it's not
one
that hard.
screen.
I mean, look at what's the screen. It's not that hard.
Where's my enemies? He will first dimension door around here. And we'll throw out a bunch of quarter codes. 3 quarter codes. Let's mostly just skip this.
Yeah, probably just reach him. Alright, give me them cold. Throwing out 3 of them.
That's good damage.
Alright, so what are we doing? Half, not half, be third. Alright, doing 25 damage in total these things as Conicle's just ripping through the front lines. They try to retreat away from you as you just cut into.
That's it.
Alrighty. Who's up next? Lannister!
How fast is mine? Bit go.
I don't know, it's like 120 I think? Maybe? I think you got the faster one?
Oh, cause 120.
Which means you can move real far.
Alright, oh. Okay, get out of my fucking 120. Get out of my way, fucking cook the sheets. Alright, I'm gonna turn like 3. Come on, carpet dash.
You've got fucking a minute to get there. You got plenty of time.
Alright. I'm real so excited to kill things. Oh, no, I don't want to grab on. You know what you say right there? Cause I'll fucking try to kill this fucking dragon. Cause I hate dragons.
Oh, yeah.
And you can dash on the
Yeah. You charge the dragon. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm gonna fucking cut it with my sword.
Give me that spiritual guardian's damage and your normal attacks.
Oh, what? Spiritual. Where is it? I cast it at 4th level. I mean, 1 more D8. There you go, 20.
Ooh, 20. Nice. Spiritual guardians, you get up and melee with this thing, starting to fight it. It starts to cut away. Give me your attack.
Oh.
You can find that opening. Cool. As you're not cutting very well, but that's fine.
Just a warning shot. You know, trying to make her think it's gonna die. Oh, no, I will advance. It's still a crit though.
It's not a ton of damage dealt though, and retaliates against you. Claws and fangs bared.
I'll use my bonus action to on this one. Is that how that works? Am I using I saw Toman do like 3 attacks.
Yeah, as you do get
Alright,
your
alright.
other attacks, so 28. Oh, got math 30. And then another 23. As you just cut and cut through this thing, as you and Toman tearing into the side of the thing, it looks like it is on death's door, but it does retaliate against you. And thankfully you have resistance to most attacks, but it does cut into you for 30 days. As tail and teeth and claws tear through you.
Is that all?
Alright. As Ivar.
Oh, Mark. Yeah, I will. I just realized I wasn't transmitting. Hello? Hello?
I got you.
That's 90 feet of movement, so... Well, Catastrophe has 90. It's like 180 if you dash. They can't dash. So it's like 500 something, so that should be like 3 rounds, I think. I did my math right.
Seems like it.
Cool. So I'll turn to engage the thing.
Charging the blue dragon.
What
See his
the
head
hell?
turn to greet you.
Scalping in hand. I was ready.
Oh yeah.
So, attack once. And I need a con save. Because I'm clipping his wings with the
Yeah.
power of scalping.
He's obviously 9,000 feet in the air, so...
Yeah. How far does he plummet, assuming he fails?
Pretty high. Let's see. Can't see. 25. I'm not gonna do it.
I was okay, I have another.
He has to make a
Basket.
con save on every hit, though.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hits.
Cut deep into him. Oh, didn't actually take that much.
And I was willing to but it'll use first level spell slot. I forgot to turn off a holy weapon. So that's 4, not 7, and that's 4, not 11.
Alright, you cut and cut and cut as he continues to try to save against your effect. It's the third one. He comes plummeting towards the ground, although retaliating against you all the way. Ooh, as you take 44 damage as you combat against each other, although he does come clambering to the ground, as he was about 80 feet up or so. Ooh, he crunches into the ground.
Oh, follow. Just keep laying into him.
Alright, you continue your combat.
An advantage, I guess, technically. And those first couple of strikes.
Right. And let's see, do. And Yolder. Last but not least. On the far side, away from your comrades.
It's alright, I gotta hold this flank. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just sort of pivot the ship a little bit again, and, let's see. How many dudes are in this Wyvern squad?
There's
100, right?
almost 100 or so. Some of them have been killed, but not many.
Yeah, so Yolder just watching from the gun deck and just looking to Asham Kaj, who sort of just, drifts the ship through the air as we're racing across the battlefield. The meteors come screaming down, and then Yolder just sees these wyverns descend onto the fort, tearing the entire ballista unit apart, and knowing that there's almost no survivors from just their assault. And seeing that, her eyes just go completely white. Her halo begins to glow immensely as it connects with her staff, and it just begins to emanate light from within as we're just gonna stun strike that whole fucking fortress and just hit that whole group of wyverns.
Hitting your archer buddies too, up on the walls?
Not really. Like, it's only 120 feet, so we're just gonna smack those
Gotcha.
guys.
As you nuke that corner of the fortress that's already been basically eradicated by the wyvern killing off the...
Yeet.
Alright, as the sunburst erupts in the midst of these things, as they take a hearty amount of damage.
67 to, like, all of them.
As a shit ton of damage is just ripped through them. As you can see, you've killed probably 25 to 30 of them or so, as they just break apart and start to swarm outwards away from the sun.
And then I direct Asham Ka. Let's see. I think effective range is 600 feet, so we end up there, still in range. So I just direct her to swing us around to the middle fortress. All the while, I am just unloading the guns into the wyverns.
Oh yeah, give me them gunshots.
Oh, actually, I thought you had a macro for the cannons.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For the cannon goals.
Sure. Ooh, as they take out about another 5 or so of them, as they do 30 damage to the wyverns. The gunshots ring out.
That looks so cool. And then yeah, I just maintain concentration on insect plague as it continues to swarm those poor fucking orcs.
Oh yeah, give me that insect plague damage.
Over the course of a minute, it might kill them all.
Possibly. There's still quite a few of them. They're doing their best to try to fight around it. They're not just hanging out in it, but they can't avoid it altogether because they're all stuck in combat at the moment. Ooh, so they do take a decent amount of. More their numbers fall. Oop, nope. There we go.
Let me see. These units are damaged, right? These guys? Yeah, these guys are fucked up. Yeah. So I give a command to the stone golems to, as they're getting assailed on the hill, to go ahead and use their slow on all the charging kobolds. So hopefully that will have some effect, and then I will say Vitae again and activate this rune, trying to heal up primarily this unit.
Yeah, give me that heal. You can probably catch enough injured troops to try to help them. I mean, it heals up to how many people?
It heals everyone within range. That's how it works. Yeah, I just heal like the 6 most injured.
Get out. You bring 6 people back into fighting form.
And they also have aura of whatchamacallit, bravery or vitality or something.
Yeah.
Hope.
So they continue to try to hold that line.
Yeah, they have advantage
Good
on
shit.
death saves, so they might be able to stick it out if they get knocked down, and hopefully if they have their own healing, it helps. I don't know.
Yeah. Good shit. Alright. And that is it for our heroes as battle continues on, as allied forces continue to try to strike out, as starting up by the lizard men, sort of the most dire of situations, as light cavalry will attempt to open up a hole for the heavy cavalry, in which they do, as they kill off the large lizards that are harrying them, as they are finally cut down, as the heavy cavalry swing around and do a rear charge into these drakes, being able to crunch into them before they're able to retaliate, but retaliate still they do, as they sort of trade even numbers, as the Hippogriff Riders also try to do so as well. They combine their charge, killing off quite a few of these drakes, but still fighting back as more of the Griffin Riders fall, as after engagement, their numbers are slowly being whittled down, as there's just not enough troops on that far side to really help. Men trying to hold the line, replug this gap, although they're not in a great way, but they should be able to finish off these lizardmen, which they do finally. Lizardmen riders cut to pieces, their mounts killed in the process, although they do lose about 25 of their men altogether in the advance, as they try to advance upon these lizardmen casters, who start to retreat to try to get away. But that area of attack seems to have been cut off for the enemy, as arrows get launched at wyverns that attacked their fellows, killing about 10 of them, but there's still 90 in the air, as infantry all about start to turn, and they start to try to form a defensive wall out this fortress. As seeing Ivar actually ground this creature, Ivar, a gigantic troop of men, advance now that you have grounded this dragon, coming to your aid. The defensive wall is formed on the east flank to defend against the incoming troops. These men strike out against dragon on the ground.
Hell yeah, good job, troops. I was secretly hoping that they would capitalize on the fact that Ivar fucking tore down a dragon from the sky.
Yes, they clamber into him, cutting and stabbing the best they can, but they lose quite a few troops in the process. Actually, your men, as about 80 of them die, but they cut deep into the side of it. As archers turn their attention to dragons harrying the cannons, firing at them, killing quite a few actually, as archers all around turn their attentions as arrows and bullets ring out at these young dragons, as quite a few of them are ripped from the sky, but still about 3 or so remain. But doesn't look like they'll be able to completely silence those guns, as it looks like they're starting to retreat, diving into a nest of missile troops. Not seem to end well for them. As the center starts to try to advance to wrap around approaching foes, seeing that part of the middle completely devoid of advancing enemies, they take the opportunity to advance as well. Some of the injured troops lay back and wait, but others take their place to engage with kobolds. As they start their advance, not all able to connect soundly, but trying to reform the lines. As infantry attack in, able to scour the earth of the small injured kobolds on the front as they are pushed away. Beasts continue to fight with all their strength, but there's not much they can do. They fall. Fuck! That's not what I wanted. There we go. As all of Ivar's beasts brought from the arenas cut low. Replaced, though, with mechanized units charging in, although not many of them. See how they fare. May not go very well. It doesn't. Ton of their troops are cut to pieces, although some of them are still standing as they charge into this just mass of kobolds. And then the center also continues the fight. The Ironwall troops do a devastating attack, though, killing 250 of these units, as only taking about 50 casualties in total, as that attack was brutal. As although the attacking recruits from the Holy Lands do not fare as well. As archers and Gatling golems advance, firing on this troop, firing and firing, trying to do the best they can, and killing quite a few of these kobolds, as hundreds of them fall by the hail of missile fire, as these armored troops continue to advance along with Toman, although there's not a great avenue to attack from. As Toman, you just have a host of archers behind you. One of them is fighting off the best they can as arrows fire into the mixed with these green dragons, as more of them fall. More and more until only a single one remains, as it is caught in combat with this archer. And the archers finish it off, cutting it down. Only losing a few of their number. These suicide charges of these young dragons, almost just cast away by their older kin, is certainly a strange sight to see. These horrible, majestic creatures flying to their deaths on these suicide runs to simply try to cut down as many lives as possible as these green dragons fall dead. Troops in the front continue their foray against the advancing kobolds, as the kobolds strike out a nasty blow against these front troops from the Iron Wall, as almost 75 or so of their members fall, as more fighting. Thankfully, these troops able to end another advance from the kobold forces as they are pulled from the field. As the Iron Wall only lose about 17 men or so. As the other advance, archers advance and fire into kobold flanks, firing and taking them off the field. The few remaining start to scatter, eradicated. Bullets flying. That was the wrong button. As only a few of the kobolds cut down, archers turn to fire on wyverns in the fortress as they do a decent amount of damage, cutting down like 30 or 20 of them or so, as flame cannon also fires into the mix as it kills another 5 of them as they try to retreat up out of the fortress, as riflemen also turn, seeing the orc flanks starting to fall, fires into the wyverns, covering their flanks, killing another 10 of them as these wyverns are torn to pieces. Heavy troops, trying to save their infantry, charge into orcs, tearing them to pieces, not giving them a chance to retaliate. Light cavalry, far outnumbering the orcs, attack in, almost completely wiping out these orc leaders, but taking a decent amount of casualties in return. As infantry continue to battle on the riverside, but do not fare all that well, losing 125 of their. As with that, golems ordered to cast slow on as many of the kobolds as they can, and they do, as the kobolds are almost so many of them are rendered almost useless, unable to retaliate against it. Heavy infantry cutting down against kobolds as well, as actually taking quite a bit of casualties themselves. That did not look like a great engagement, as more infantry, the Iron Hands getting into the fray, or the Bronze Hands getting into the fray, striking out against these kobolds the best they can, actually killing quite a few of them, trying to stay safe, as archers will also aid infantry as they cut down this remaining orcs as well. As this flank is finally starting to be secure, as infantry will charge casters, trying to do the best they can, but losing a lot of their numbers. There's just not really enough men there to do much. And mercenaries are fleeing. They have lost so many of their men. They flee back inside of the stronghold, trying to keep away from the wyverns, basically pressing themselves up against the walls, trying to find respite, trying to let the cavalry do their. And with that, cannons try to fight off the best they can, but they are locked in melee and cannot really do what they want to do. As cannons, they lose another 3 crews or so, but actually able to do a decent amount of damage to the dragons, since there's a lot of them left. Oop, shit. And with that, but they do have actually one more source of aid. Ballistae, held and reserved, going to fire upon those hearing their allies, firing out and doing a ton of damage as these young blue dragons are cut down from the sky, gigantic bolts flying in and tearing them to pieces.
Great, now they can help with the Ancient on next turn, right?
Oh yeah. I believe that's all the allied forces. And throughout this combat, there have been hundreds and thousands of casualties on either side. But there's a single point, a single area of flame that has been struck in the heart of this. And it has caught the attention of the eyes that watch the battlefield. As Lannister and Tommen,
Boy.
you start to hear not just the wings beating right in front of you, the grasping of breath, the claws streaking through the air. You see other wings beating and advancing upon your position.
What?
You see wings of white, wings of red, and wings of black as you continue your foray against this green dragon. Well, this is truly a combat for the ages. Something that will need to play out in full.
Alright. Alright, well, my boy.
As the rest of the party, Yolder from on airship, you can see the fight down below. You see Lannister and Tommen in this gigantic monstrous form fighting this creature. But then you see a shift. You see scaled wings turning and advancing upon them. You all see this. It's impossible not to try to keep an eye on those dragons as they are all collapsing in upon your friends on the front. And with this, we have a fight in the middle of the...
Oh, 2 on 4. Oh, alright, Tommen, it's an even fight. Slightly in our favor.
But that will also, sadly enough, be where we call this session tonight. It was a shorter one, getting through most of the battle, but next time we have a fight in earnest now.
Can we see the world map or the war map?
Oh yeah, forgot I moved you over there. The current state of the battle unfold.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just spend my turns just shooting at the dragons. It's fine. I gotta move 100 feet and I'm in range. It's fine.
It's one of those things of...
I'm in range.
That is also true.
I mean, I'm sure I just abandoned right now, and then I just, 180...
Well, so what God is going to do is he's going to give Ivar his own fight solo against the ancient dragon at the same time.
Alright, that sounds...
Meanwhile, I'll position the airship like right about here, so that way I can have 3 guns in this fight and 3 guns in this fight. There you go. Boom! He's got it!
I mean, Ivar also has, like, literally his army and a ballista.
It's certainly a situation where the enemies are collapsing, the battle has shifted, and if you wish to go aid your allies, you have enough heads up. You see the enemies collapsing upon them, and if you wish to go aid them, certainly have the time to do so.
They got the dragon. I know Lannister likes to get his killing blows. I'm gonna keep holding the lines.
Ivar's with his army. You think he wants to abandon them?
The fuck, guys?
You say good luck, guys? Aren't you in the
Everything
fight?
is said
I said the fuck, guys.
fuck, guys.
Yeah.
You guys
Like,
are good.
I mean-
I have my own ancient to deal with.
I definitely want to bring my broadsides to bear, along with keeping a close eye in case I need to divine intervention, you fucks.
Okay, well, other Tolman comes. Other Tolman actually cares about me, apparently.
I can't get there fast enough. Because, like, I can only fly, like, 30 feet around, dash.
But it says me Shasta's airship.
That's,
Yeah, there's a big old airship just
Sasami.
hanging out. Yeah, Sasami.
Oh yeah, Sasami. Why don't
Hanging
the
up
Drakes
there.
go attack that?
Hmm?
They might.
well, maybe this
Okay.
one was going over there, but you intercepted it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I'll go egg it on. I'll be like, there you go, puppy. Go attack the giant wooden toy.
Bet you can't take its wings.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you can't clip its wings like I clip yours.
Oh yeah.
Big
Perfect.
boy
Uh-huh,
fights.
Ah! Fucking love this. But this is where we are going to have to call it. So I certainly hope that you have enjoyed a take on mass combat and war in
Real
D&D
goofy.
5th edition. It I think has proven to be effective. I'm mostly giving Brendan praise because we're winning. If we were losing, it'd be all his fault. So don't worry about it. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I want to give a big shout out to One by One for the bits. I appreciate it. I want to thank you so much also for resubscribing for 20 months now. Big shout out to you. I want to thank Primarch Reaper for buying a tank top from the merch store. So be sure to check out our wonderful Lionhead Gaming merch store just beneath the channel feed. And if you also need some tasty coffee, be sure to check out our wonderful sponsors at Art Sand Coffee, where you can still use promo code LION10 to get yourself a sweet discount and help support the channel. Really appreciate it. And that is just about it. We will be back with more Dungeons and Dragons this Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. We get to lay our good friend Milo to rest and deal with the repercussions of character death in Kingdoms of the South. And we are on break this Thursday for Song of Rapture, but that just gives you some sweet time to catch up with the VOD so you know what's going on, so you can catch us next week with more D&D on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll be back this coming up Sunday to hopefully rout the forces of Karsith and send them screaming back to Big God Scale Daddy, and yeah, press our advantage from there and see what the Outriders do next as they recoup their forces and assess the damage and move against this, their most powerful foe. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. And as always, may your dice roll 20s, and you always make your saves.